This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 872 for the week of Monday, June 16th, 2025. My name is Steven.
And I'm Greg.
And Simba's here too, my little cat. He's right next to me. It is SGS week, which if you are new to the podcast, you've never heard this one before, SGS, which we have modeled after Oda's SBS, is our special off-week podcast where Greg, who is a columnist for VJump and OnePiece.com and series advisor for Netflix's One Piece series, and me, Steven, translator for One Piece manga in Shonen Jump and MangaPlus, break down the latest events and share our expertise. So, it's been a couple months. I think we missed a couple. We like ships passing in the night. We missed a couple chances to reconvene. So, how have you been, Greg?
Oh boy, I was thinking, just kind of laughing to myself, setting up the microphone and going through the trials and tribulations again. Just thinking, maybe this will be the life cast. I don't know if we'll talk about One Piece just so much as how our lives have been. the old man cast. I don't know.
Sure.
What was it? It was, and I just thinking about old man. This is a bit of a tangent, but I saw just last night, right before I went to bed, that there was a teaser dropped for Spaceballs 2.
Oh yes, yeah.
And at the very end of it, Mel Brooks actually comes out. It's the first time I've seen him in years.
Right.
And dude is 2 years short of 100, and is sharp as a tack. Like, you wouldn't even know. And I instantly texted dude, and I was just like, dude, I was like, oh my God, Spaceballs 2. I was like, of all the sequels like that have ever come out since the aughts, like, this is the one that I hope doesn't, fail.
Doesn't suck, yeah.
Yeah, like what were the like just some of the awful sequels to like older movies, older comedies, and things like the Dumb and Dumber sequel. It's just,
oh God,
terrible films. And I was just like, please let this one not suck.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I can't believe how good Mel Brooks looks. And dude gets back, he's like, yeah, he's a One Piece old man. I was just like, you're right, he's perfect. He is. He's right up there with the geezers of One Piece. But I hope that won't be me in this episode of the podcast. Just kind of looking back on several things and events the past couple of months. But it's been interesting. Life has certainly been life. The past couple months, both up and down. All sorts of things going on, as with everyone, I'm sure. But just owning a new vehicle has had its well, I backed into a stone wall, so
oh dear.
So there's that. While seeing an ENT specialist for a 100-day cough, like a pertussis kind of infection that I had.
Yeah.
And like, I wasn't even going to go. I was just going to tough it out. And it was just like on a random Friday, but I was just like, I probably should go. And I went, and on the way out, right into a wall. So that will have to be replaced. That's super fun. Just those kind of things.
The wall or the bumper, or
the wall looked fine.
Okay.
Looked great. Yeah. My bumper, not so hot.
So yeah. Okay.
But that's what it is. And we do these things, and we soldier through. In other news, well, I don't know if I should get right into that right away, but there have been some positive things as well. How about you, sir? How have you been? We have not really talked. I mean, we did a little bit of One Piece, back and forth banter here and there.
Right.
But not that much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a pretty quiet couple of months for me.
That's good.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, we had some family stuff where, it was like sort of a distant family, health issues, but but that brought people down to visit. So we had a a big sort of family get together, which was fun. And then of course everybody got sick.
Oh,
So getting over that. But I'm feeling pretty good now. Got myself a little Switch 2, playing some
no
Marika.
way.
Yeah.
How easy were those to get overseas? Could you
Apparent.
just get them or?
Yeah. So I got a pre-order and from Best Buy, and then I actually, for the first time in my life, I did the lineup at midnight, quote unquote midnight, but
Huh.
it was like midnight on the East Coast, so we were allowed to, people were lining up at like 8 p.m. And they started selling them at 9. So
Nice.
it wasn't too bad, and at least at my store, I was near the back of the line. Like I thought, oh, this will be like super quick, but they were also doing like just walk up sales. So they had two lines. There was the pre-order
Oh,
line, and then there was the okay, you can purchase it here. But they were doing like 1-in-1. So all the people who were buying stuff were like, all right, I'm going to pick this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, and then they had to swipe the card and do all that stuff. So that was really slowing things down, and
oh.
so I ended up being one of the last people to get mine. But even then, like they just had like a ginormous pile of them behind the
Wow.
counter that they were just taking them off the top. So yeah, they were talking about how Nintendo was going to make a bunch of them, and they were going to make sure that there was a lot available at retail. And my experience definitely that checked out.
Well, I guess they did for America, but
Yeah, not so much
over
in Japan.
here,
Yeah.
my God, it's worked out. Did I go into the car spiel with you about
I
how
mean,
difficult it
yeah,
is?
right. Like you have to say that you want to buy the car, and then they tell you you can't buy the car,
Right.
and you have to go on a waiting list and all this
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway, it carries over to the Switch too, and it works out perfectly for them. As I've done an experiment, I used my little lambs in the classroom for some human experimentation over the past week. But I wanted to see what the spread was on number of people with Switches. Now you said pre-order. You cannot pre-order over here. You
Okay,
have
so
to.
so it's
Yeah.
only through Nintendo, like the lottery
No.
thing.
No, yes, yes. Okay, so I
Okay.
don't know exactly how that works. I shouldn't have said no because I don't know how it works
Hmm.
exactly. But yes, it is a lottery. Now,
Right.
how I've heard about it and done it in the past is I go to a what do you call it? An electric store. I think yes, electronic store. I go to an electronic store and I'll go on a list, a lottery. Um, I'm guessing maybe this time it was through Nintendo. I don't know how that works, but
Mm,
maybe it was. I don't know. But
yeah.
the point is, there was a lottery, and it's not just sign up for a pre-order. It's if you are lucky, then you get it.
Right.
Um, everybody wants it because it's now like the ultra YouTube raised generation, and of
Right.
course, all the Japanese influencers are talking about it. So even
Hmm.
kids who like don't play video games are just like, I want the Switch too. And right
Hmm.
now, we're talking about birthdays in class. Like literally, the entire nation studies the exact same material. Like every school is on the same
Mm.
material at the exact
Oh
same
boy.
time, and
Hmm.
every English class is talking about birthdays right now because we're talking about months, and
Uh-huh.
it's what do you want for your birthday? Guess what?
Oh my
Every
God.
child in Japan is answering in their English class. I
That's
want the
amazing.
Switch too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I over the past week, I was saying about the experimentation. I went to each class, and usually I have some banter with the kids at the start of class, and what day is today? What's the date? How's the weather? Blah blah blah. And I usually finish with "How are you?" But instead of "How are you?" I asked, "Do you have a Switch too?" All except one of the classes, and I teach. I don't know. I teach roughly 20 classes a week.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Um, all except one class. Every class had it averaged out 1.5 switches per class.
Hmm.
which is to say, in each class there was
Mm-hmm.
one kid who everybody could just be like, "Oh, I'm so jealous."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but that kid could spread the word of like how fun it is and how great it is
Right.
to
Right.
everybody, so that everybody wants one, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like the progenitor of the ina, the
Mm-hmm.
akogare of it. Um, and I was just like, my God, Nintendo's like spread is perfect. I don't even know how it did, but it's just like you couldn't engineer
Right.
a marketing campaign that does it
Oh,
that well.
geez. Yeah.
Um, almost exactly one or two kids in every class that has it, and it's just amazing. What a campaign.
Yeah, and I saw that it was kind of like it turned into like a bit of like a social phenomenon thing with the lottery system because like I could see that on like on Japanese Twitter it was like they would do the round, right, of like, okay, here's the first round of like sign up for the Nintendo Switch 2 lottery to see if you can pre-order it, and right, and then the however many people get their golden ticket, right, and so there were just like all these like celebrities and stuff who were like, I didn't win a Switch 2, like why do you have a Switch 2, and they were like, kind of turning it into content stuff too. So I imagine that must just be like completely pervasive. It's just everybody's like, "Oh, did you get one? Did you get one?"
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
All the kids are just like, I got it. Oh, this. And the funny thing is, like, almost every kid knew who had it. Like, and then the
Mm,
kids who did have it, like, some of them were just like the boys were always like, I have the Switch too. And the
mhm,
girls who had it were just like real quiet, raised their hand, and everybody was just
mhm.
like, what? You have it? And they're just, it was really adorable. Um, so
That's
yeah,
fun.
it really has been something of an event over here. So I do envy you with your simplicity of pre-ordering.
Right. Yeah.
That said, what is the deal with what is the deal with the Switch 2? There's something about like it's region locked again, or something with the languages, or
They, yeah. I mean, this is a long story, but in the Japanese market, they sell two because basically the Japanese the SKU, the unit of the Switch that they sell there is priced like if you converted dollars into yen, it would be significantly cheaper in Japan than in America. And so they basically the domestic version of the Switch in Japan, like the system language is locked to Japanese. So in other words, it's all kind of like a defense to keep people from just going to Japan or just mail ordering from Japan all of the Japanese Switches because they're cheaper, and then just selling them in other markets for a markup. So it's kind of an anti-scalping measure, or one of those like reverse importation style things. And the multi-language model that they sell in Japan, which you can customize, which is basically the same as the Switches that everyone else is getting, are kind of like priced to match the dollar price. So they are way more expensive than the Japanese only ones. So that's kind of the discrepancy there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Are there any games for it now besides Super Mario Kart World
There's a
that are
couple.
exclusive, or like
I don't think there's any that are necessarily exclusive. There are a couple new games for it, but they were also on other platforms.
okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much, if you only wanted to do a new thing, it's pretty much Mario Kart right now.
This is such a like I'm such a consumer. I'm such a cog in the machine,
Yeah.
but like there is a place that I know of where I absolutely can buy any system whenever it
Hmm.
comes out. Um, and it's such a like non-assuming place, and people don't go there to pre-order. They don't do anything.
Mm.
But I got a Switch there. I got a PlayStation 4 there, a 5 and a Pro. All of them
Mm.
just walk in and was like,
Wow.
"Do you have this?" And they're like, "Yeah." Um, and it's this I won't say the name of it just so I can keep it, but it's just like it's this actually major mall chain, and
Hmm.
just nobody thinks to go to the electronics department and just
Hmm.
walk up there and get it. But like I just want to get it to say that I got it. I just want to walk into class and be like, yeah, I got the Switch, and kind of
Yeah.
reaction. I'm not
Yeah.
going to. I absolutely will not, because there's nothing that I really really like want to play for it right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I am interested in eventually, getting it whenever
Yeah.
there's a good opportunity for it, and there's some games I want to play. But I'm glad you
I
got that. That's cool.
yeah, I would say it's kind of like it kind of feels to me like it's like the Apple Switch, if that makes any sense. It's just like a really nice, sleek version of the Switch that's way more powerful, but it's not significantly different from the
Hmm.
original one in any way. So like if you weren't super into the first Switch, this one isn't necessarily going to sell you on it. But it can do a lot more. So that's fun just on its own.
I had a
Um,
Switch for two
mm,
weeks.
mm,
I bought it at that store along with
hmm.
Zelda,
Yeah, I know you played Zelda, so I know you had one.
beat Zelda, and then sold it for a profit on Midokari.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine waiting on it. Uh,
Oh, so
um, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's the fun stuff. I think we also have some more professional news, because I'm aware that you're kind of back in the saddle, so to speak, lately,
yes.
aren't you?
Oh my gosh, and it's a rough ride, that's for sure.
Mm,
Um, Stephen is alluding to the fact that, and it just was announced this past week. I had
mm,
no idea when they were going to announce it. I'm not involved
mm,
in any of the promotion of it whatsoever. But
right.
uh, the Adventure of Dai is coming back from Viz. The
Yeah.
English edition of the manga is back, and they're coming out with Volume 6. I don't know when. I think they announced a window for it, at least, right? I think.
Mm.
But
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure.
yeah, that just got announced via Twitter and some other social media, I'm sure, as well. And they were kind enough, Viz were kind enough to come back to me and say, "Hey, would you like to continue translating this?" And I said, "Would I?" So yeah, very happy to be back on the translation circuit, doing my
Yeah.
run there.
Yeah, that's
And
cool. I saw now I yeah, don't take my word for this, because
okay,
I could be misinterpreting this or misremembering it, but I do feel like I saw some comment along the lines of that there were other Western language editions that also stopped at the same point. So I don't know if that means Shueisha was like, okay, you get this many, and then we have to renegotiate or figure it out, or if maybe those editions were like sub-licensed from Viz, so when Viz paused on it, they were kind of left out in the cold. But yeah, I feel like it might be a little more complicated than just like, oh well, we just stopped and then now we decided to go again. There might be some more business reasons behind it.
I know the answer to that, and
Oh,
it
you
is
do?
probably
Okay.
not professionally
Yeah,
responsible of me
sure,
to,
sure.
but you would find the answer hilarious. Is
Okay.
is all I have to say about that. But we're very lucky that the team involved right now is happy to continue on with Die.
That's
And
great.
yeah, in terms of what they're looking at, I really can't comment on that. But I do hope to be busy with Die for some time. And
Nice.
shout out to a super fan as well, who has really really helped me with kind of like the lore. I reached out
Mm-hmm.
to this individual
I think you
during the
mentioned
first round.
someone like this, yeah, before.
Yeah, and I reached out to them again, and they've been more than happy to share with me. But Mimas, or at least it's one of their usernames, she has just been fantastic in kind of helping me stay, like, without spoiling things or ruining things for me completely, helping me stay within the foreshadowing window
Mm,
of writing, which is such a fortunate thing to have. You do
yeah.
not have this luxury with One Piece
No.
whatsoever.
No, not at
Um,
all.
I do try to help Steven every once in a while. Like if there's something really, really tough. Like I do try to be like, hey, ask Oda about this. I think there's been a couple times where I've been like,
Yeah,
hey, this is really tough, Mr. Editor. Do you think you could give us
right.
a heads up on this? And they've been kind enough to get some confirmation for things in the past, but and that's
Yeah.
not too often, but
No. And it's not something that I would ever like try to abuse. I think sometimes people hear that and they think, "Oh, well then, everything that is foreshadowing, then we know because we get told." It's not like that.
no way.
It's just like a special favor every now and then we feel a little emboldened to ask, would
Maybe
you
maybe two or three times in the past decade or so.
Right. Yeah, yeah, very very infrequently.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, it's exciting to be back in it. But I'll say you must have experienced this as well because you did the fan translation and then you were away from the series and then you came back for the official.
mhm.
Um, Finding voices again
Oh
fucking
yeah,
sucks, dude.
it's tricky.
Oh man, it's terrible. Um,
Mm.
and it's got to be even tougher for you with One Piece because you didn't have the luxury of finding even your own voices, and I'm sure they've become over time your
Yeah, yeah,
own,
yeah, yeah.
but you had to mesh with the multiple translators that Viz had. I'm sure for One Piece to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's there was definitely maybe not so much as far as character voice, definitely like getting accustomed to the vocabulary and making sure that just because there's so much terminology and so many names in One Piece that even after I was, kind of hit the ground running, there were lots of times where I belatedly realized like, oh, actually this is not like I was spelling this character's name differently or I was doing this thing differently. And, there's just so much to keep track of that I didn't necessarily correct course as promptly as I wish I had. But, there's just so much to keep track of. But I definitely, there was definitely a part of me, not necessarily in every case, but there's definitely a part of me that was like, well, I don't like the way they did this, so I'm just gonna go with my gut, and and people will have to adjust. But
My only problem with that is that when I
mhm.
find something that's like I don't like the way they did this, it's my work. So so I have to I'd be like, oh, okay, all right. Well, I guess I got to think about this a different way. Like
Yeah.
I'll go into something and I'll find a character that I previously wrote and I'll be like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, this sounds really good. And then I'll go back and like just randomly check because like just double check, make sure everything's in line. And like they don't use I made sure that they don't use contractions or something like
Oh
specifically like
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
character.
yeah.
And it's like,
Hmm.
damn it. Oh, I hate past me so much because but I love past me, but I hate past me, for
Hmm.
doing this because that's a cool way to utilize that character's speech pattern. But um, there's a lot of that going back and rediscovering how you 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 approach these characters and their quirks, try to make them
Yeah.
original. Also,
Yeah, if you really are like sticking to your guns on that, at some point you just have to be like, I just have to write these things down. Like I just need a like a cheat sheet that I can refer to remember.
yeah, I really do. That would make my life much much easier, especially I was going to say for sound effects. I forgot how much sound effects suck. I spent
Mm,
most of my time on sound effects.
mm,
It's just terrible. And this dude, this writer, uses sound effects that just like he just made them up.
hmm.
There's a ton of them that are just like keyboard. They're just like like on the fly on the spot of the moment, like whatever sounds good.
Hmm. Right.
Uh, and like I'll try to look up databases and things to make sure I get them all right because you get the idea of it. You already see the image, but you want to make sure that everything's perfect. And it's just like, well, is what is one of the other ones? Is like Gua. Gua is super hard because I'm like, well, is there a creature that's actually saying it and it's like a roar that's in the background, or is it
Mm.
or is it just the sound effect of them rushing forward or something like that? Or
Yeah, yeah, gotcha.
um, that's just, it's so much time spent on that. But I guess if people enjoy it and people have fun reading it, then that's all that matters. I do have the advantage of this being a late 80s, early 90s manga, shonen manga. So it's easy as fuck. I don't like you. I don't like you. Let's fight. Okay.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it, which makes it very, very easy to get through. But so I'm fortunate. It's not text heavy. It's not I don't know, Vinland Saga or something.
Yeah. Or One Piece, you know.
Or one.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's a good transition. My news, which I mentioned last week in passing on the podcast, but I will reiterate it here, which was that we are actually right at this break. Yeah, I have not started on the next chapter, but I've completed 500 weekly chapters of One Piece on the dot.
My goodness.
At this
Congratulations.
Point. Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
You will probably have done then over half the series.
At this point, yeah, I'm like, yeah, based on where we are, I probably will hit that. Because
officially speaking, unofficially speaking, you're already there.
Yeah, well. I don't try to toot my horn about that stuff too much, but yeah, and it's crazy too because like you know you think of it on its own of like how many series reach 500, like that by itself is a massively long manga, and I'm like, oh well, it's only 500 because there's over 1,000, you know, there's over 1,100 at this point, so it's not even half of the series. It's just crazy.
Oh my god, so I'm going to the gym for personal training and stuff for exactly 1 year now, and my trainer there is a former student of mine from back in when I worked in high school, and he's in his late 20s now, late 20s, early 30s, and he never really got into One Piece. Like he knew about it, he saw bits and pieces of it, but he never really got into it. And now that I'm there and I've been there with him, you know, we kibitz back and forth, and he started One Piece and he's watching it with his kids now.
Nice.
And they watch it in the car when they go from place to place. And he's around volume 33, and I was like, you know, which means Skypiea, right? Like he just finished Skypiea.
Yeah.
And when he got into it, I was just like, you know, dude, I was like, Skypiea is like a really long, up to that point, Skypiea is a really long arc. It was like, that's where a lot of people dropped off because, you know, they didn't think that it was amounting to anything. They were like, why isn't the story moving forward? It actually is, and it's actually super important. It's core to the main story, but, you know, you're not going to know that yet for like another 100 volumes or so.
Yeah.
But like, good luck with it. I was like, if you don't enjoy it, then you don't enjoy it. But if you do, then charge through it. And like, it was hilarious because the entire time he's trying to watch the anime because he wants to watch it with his kids. And he got to around, I think, where they beat Satori in the anime. And I was just like, he was just like, I gotta be like pretty far through it, right? And I was just like, you're nowhere, dude. You're like not even, you're not even near halfway. I don't know if you're probably like a third of the way through it. And he was like, oh, what? I was like, yeah. And so I saw him, what was it? That was a Friday, and I came back on a Monday. And I was like, oh, so how you doing? Week bits, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, by the way, I finished Skypiea. And I was like, what? I was like, how did you watch all of that? I didn't know there were that many hours in between now and you know, when I started. And he's like, nah, he was like, so I took my kids to like a play center. And he was like, and they had for the parents and stuff while they're watching them, like they have just like racks of manga. And they had One Piece. So I sat down and I read the manga for the first time. And I read the entirety of Skypiea.
Wow.
He was like, manga, he's like, it's not really good for you, is it? He's like, if you just start reading it, and he's like, you won't stop.
Yeah.
So, but he stopped. He actually, not only did he get through Skype, he also got through Foxy.
Wow.
So he stopped at the chapter before Kuzan shows up, and he was
Mm.
like, he has no idea, but he was just like, yeah,
Hmm.
it seemed like a really good place to stop. And he was like, I don't think I'd be able to stop myself if I, like continued after
Yeah,
that.
no
And I was just
kidding.
like, you have no idea, like the chapter that you're just about to read, like the surprise waiting for you. And he was just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I was just like, he's like, but it was the end of the arc. And I was like, yeah.
Mm.
It's like you look forward to whatever's coming up. So we've had a lot of fun, of course, the typical like reaction kind of stuff, like uh and they're like, oh my god,
Mm.
like, and now is like, he's how can he be beat? I don't understand how, because he doesn't read, he didn't read the SBSs, right? So he had no idea about like the
Right.
different fruit types and things. So he was just like, why can he like get through his head, like, is he actually God? And I was just like,
Mm.
no, there's different types. Like, remember how crocodile was sand? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, those are nature types. And he was like, oh wow, that makes sense. Okay.
Mm.
But yeah, so he's on the journey.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun. You know, it's at some point, yeah, the only way you can kind of re-experience this stuff is through, someone else doing it for the first time. So, um, that's fun to be able to see those reactions.
It is. It's really cute.
Um, all right. Well, I think we have certainly covered our bases as far as the latest happenings with us. So let's move on to the podcast news. I'm not sure. We don't have a ton of news coming up, although I do believe we've been talking about there's a promotional baseball game. They're going to do a Dodgers thing over in LA. It's the weekend of July 4th, which is also Anime Expo weekend, and I do believe Jill is planning to be at that game, so we might have a little event recap or something like that coming up in a couple of weeks. So that
You,
is
you know what that means, right? Like that
what
whole
does it?
event. That means all that means is that Oda wanted to meet Otani Shohei.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's what that means. That's why that's happening, probably.
Yeah, I mean, all roads lead to Shohei Otani. I think certainly from Japan, they all go out and back to Otani. Uh, so that's something fun to look forward to. And we also on this very episode, I believe we are going to have a special segment later on because Steve, our friend Steve Yurko, and Vero did an interview with someone with Antonio, who I believe we are engaging in a little guerrilla journalism. So we're not going to give away too many details about what Antonio does. We've certainly never done anything like this in Japan with OPP Japan or anything like that, of course. But Antonio is a stage actor, and I believe if you are in Hollywood by a certain studio theme park, you might be able to see Antonio at a certain One Piece themed attraction there. So we'll have an interview with him later in this episode to look forward to. But for now, I think we're going to do some recapping of the last 3 chapters, and following that, we'll get into some of your reader questions. So why don't we move this thing along?
All right.
All right, this is the manga recap. We'll be covering chapters 1149, 1150, and 1151. And I do have my little summaries here. We'll see how long this. I don't know. These are more action focused. I don't think we had quite as many reveals, so we might get through these a little faster than usual. But I'll give my summary of 1149 here. Scopper Gaban does battle with Saint Somers and slices him in half, which is not fatal. Anjay sets fire to the library as commanded, which spares Ronya from walking the arrow plank. Gaban tries to attack Gunko, but isn't fast enough to be able to save Colin, so he yields. And then Gunko shoots Gaban with arrows, knocking him off the branch, and then begins a demonic transformation. So yeah, this is the this is the chapter where it really starts to get pretty serious with that final scene for sure.
This was the chapter that I landed a slam dunk, and that was where I think previous to this, I had mentioned in a private conversation with you folks over at the podcast, how I was interested in Gunko, and Gunko showing some sort of interest in Brooke, and saying that, maybe a lot of talk online was was she the lady from, what was it, Kuraigana? Or not, I always think it's Kuraigana. Hara Hitanya.
Yeah.
Was she the lady from Hara Hitanya, which was where Brooke crash landed, where Kuma sent him at the summoning ceremony, he just landed in the summoning.
Right.
She bore a passing resemblance to one of the ladies there. But there's a lot of talk of that, and while that was totally possible, I said, because of her name being literally child soldier. I mean, you could read a number with child of war, child soldier. Basically a weapon child, like a child thought of as a weapon, or a soldier.
Right.
I was like, there's a strong chance that this is a baby 5 kind of situation where it's her name is just a description of what she is, and she has her real name. And it looks like that is indeed the case. And I said, I told you guys, I said, what if she has a connection to Brooke's past when he was as a, what was he in the Kishi? The surprise, it's like surprise siege squad or something. Is
he's like a Tokotai or something like that.
Yeah. That came up forever ago, and it was only mentioned once. And I always held on to that because it sounded really weird, because it mentioned it was for a kingdom. And I was like, man, if that ever comes up again, it would be wonderful. And we really haven't, but aside from Brooke having the total clutch moments in Whole Cake Island, it's been pretty thin on the Brooke end since the time skip. And not like Brooke was with the crew very long before the time skip anyway. But I was like, he's one of the characters who could actually use some good background information, background lore. And it looks like, yes, she is an individual from his past, from before he was even a pirate. And yeah, very exciting development there. I was super happy to have, I'll call it. I'll say I called that one. I'm proud
certainly,
of that.
Yeah, in private, I think you certainly did call it. I don't know if you had ever, done any public musing on that extent, but
I have not. I did not. But in private,
I'll vouch for you there. Yeah, you certainly did.
I don't know how many times I'll say it, but my favorite to date is when you and I were in Skype, and I went back in my Skype history looking. I mean, I guess Skype no longer exists anymore, but there was a time when I went back in my history looking for this exact phrase, and unfortunately, by that time, I didn't know this. Skype auto deletes older comments. It holds them for some time, but it did auto delete older comments. But and this goes back so far now, but I was just like, and I was like, and there's going to be a day when Oda just has Kaido drop out of the sky, and he literally fucking did just drop out of the sky.
I don't remember that. That's great.
That was that. I wish I could have screenshotted that one, but yeah, that's still to date probably my favorite, my most satisfying, not my favorite call, but this is another good one. I'm happy, and man, to get some backstory on Brooke, what a great development in the story. More than, I don't know what's going on in Elbaf. I'm just excited to learn more about Brooke and his past.
Yeah, I remember thinking like, oh boy, are we gonna, is the this is how easily I am fooled. Yeah, I saw this little mini montage here, and I'm like, oh, are we about to get some juicy Brooke lore? And I should have realized, no, that's the teaser. That's the thing that you're supposed to hang on for the next 30 chapters, because obviously with this transformation, I feel like any kind of follow up is going to have to be after, probably after they somehow dispel, they exorcise the demon from Gunko here, and then maybe we'll actually get some of her background. But yeah, interesting stuff. I forget if, I guess, yeah, Will, we at least have not, you and I have not done an episode, obviously, since the arrival of Emu remotely here. But I don't think we've had a chance to point out stuff like the interesting facts that, like, Gunko, not only is it not like a real name, it's more of like a descriptor
Right.
than like a One Piece name, but she's not a saint. She has no family name. There are very clear discrepancies between her presentation and the other guys that show up with her. And it's so interesting to want, like, is this a thing where, like, is Gunko, like, was she specifically chosen to be like sort of an avatar that Emu can use? Like, is that something that only happens with Gunko and not with any of the other people who seem to be kind of under the same shadowy powers? Is there, is there something unique about her as opposed to the others that sets her apart? I feel like that is the case, but we don't necessarily know for sure yet.
I will go against it. I will say that I think anybody with the mark, whatever the mark is,
Mm-hmm.
may be utilized in that way.
Okay.
That is my impression of that at this moment. But that may change. Everything comes in balance, right? Like I could have
Mm-hmm.
called that thing about her, but I could be completely wrong about this. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you make of her? I was kind of talking about this with the sort of the way that they're speaking in the little flashback stuff that she says, like Oto-sama, which is something that you really don't, like, as far as One Piece goes, like the only people who are like father like that are like nobilities or royalty or something like that. Common people, they are much more up close. So that seems to suggest that she was part of some country that maybe Brooks' country invaded or was fighting against in some way.
Oh, yeah, sorry. This is uh how do I frame this? This is one of those things where, like, I've just read it and I've assumed that's the
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I first read it, going into this with that impression that I already had, or that those hopes that I already had, that,
Right.
let's call it a bias,
Mm-hmm.
because of what it is. Um, I completely read it as like, yeah, okay. In this quick succession, right? These four panels that go,
Mm-hmm.
well, starts with Tochan, hearing Tochan, right? Sama, right? Oto-sama.
Sama, yeah.
And then you see her older, obviously crying. We don't know exactly what age, but older, crying, saying Oto-sama.
Mm-hmm.
And, what are these memories? And then immediately into yo ho ho ho. And then I'm going to be a pirate, actually. It's my dream.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately thought was like, yes, he was probably he was part of the siege squad or whatever it was, but he might have been her attendant, and she is probably
Mm-hmm.
royalty of that family, of
Sure.
that
Mm-hmm.
kingdom, and he was probably personally attended to her. He was probably her personal guard. Um, and after he left, the kingdom was probably set to siege by the world government. And you could come up
Mm-hmm.
with any number of reasons for that. They had resources they wanted.
Right,
They
right, right.
stopped paying tributes, whatever. But the point is that there's plenty of room for drama there, because she looked up to him for protection as a child. and he left to be a pirate. He was no longer there to defend her. Wow, there's a lot of drama there. Not,
Mm-hmm.
you know why this is so fantastic for him though, is it's not just Laboon that he has to look forward to now on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
It's her as well. When he says, to Luffy, like, I'm so glad that I lived, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned this before, but like the killer moment for Brook is going to be, and I thought this was going to be Yorkie, and I'll hold out and say that Yorkie could still be alive. Like, obviously, that ended up, that character who I thought might have been him for the longest time ended up being Gavin.
Gabon, yeah.
Um, I still think that there's a chance for him to be alive. But even if he isn't, the whole point is now there is someone who he interacted with in the past who knows who he is and will appreciate him being alive and can tell him, I'm so glad you're alive. For Brook to hear that,
that's good.
That's your bookend for Brook, and his story.
Very nice.
It's not just Laboon. It's a double punch. At least a double punch. If Yorkie's alive, it's a triple punch. But yeah, that's
cool.
exactly as I read it. You're completely on point. I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tricky too because it seems like the order is jumbled here, right?
It is.
You would agree? Yeah, because it's we can't tell for sure, but it looks like she's a little, she's clearly a small child in this silhouette panel, but she definitely looks more closer to her apparent age in the crying one. So yeah, that's probably
it's the
more
sequence
recent.
of events that's jogging that memory.
Right.
It's hearing them calling out for their family, their father. She remembers calling out for her father, and she previously had that like moment with Brook, right?
Yeah,
So
something like that.
It's those memories kind of cascading together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, very, very, very happy about all of that.
Yeah, really cool. Shall we move on to the next one then?
Shall we? We shall.
All right. 1150. Gunko undergoes a demonic transformation and seemingly speaks with the voice of Emu. Dory and Brogy accost her, but she creates magical weapons and flips them over, turning them evil. And more giants are flipped, creating an army of demon giants. That's pretty much all that really happens in this chapter. It's a pretty straightforward. Just bad things happening, for sure.
So with every, I don't know, there must be balance in the force, right?
Yes.
So the last chapter, I called that slam dunk. This chapter, interesting way to be wrong about something, and I don't know if it's entirely wrong, but it's something that I noticed was a problem, and I don't know if you saw me posting about this, because I don't spend much time on Twitter these days. I know a lot of people do not, but I did bring this up there because it was interesting to me. I did that whole write-up about how long I think One Piece will last, right?
Right.
Took me a year, so 2 years? I don't know. Took a long time. Wrote a lot about it. And I gave a high ball and a low ball for the length of Elbaf. And I think the low ball was like, what? Maybe a year, half a year, something like that. A year, maybe. And the long one was, I think, up to like 3 years. And I figured that it would probably land somewhere in between those two. With all the developments and how everybody was, kind of moving along here, it was 1149, the previous chapter. It was right before 1149 that I started thinking, like, I don't know how Oda can hit many dramatic beats. I mean, completely forget, like, there's not enough characters for matchups for like 1v1s or anything. Forget that. Just simply, there aren't enough villains to make a dramatic beat for Oda to make interesting in the story. You can't just have the in a standard One Piece arc. You cannot simply have the Straw Hats railroading everything that comes in front of them.
Right.
and yet that's how things were going, and the list of villains was quickly diminishing. And their ability to deal with them was only getting higher. Like there were still stakes, but they were dealing with everything quite well. And there's this, the Straw Hats simply were not spread thin enough to have to be explained away why they couldn't deal with these villains. And I said, I don't know if Elbaf can even hit my lowball expectation, because there simply aren't enough villains to deal with. Lo and behold, this chapter changes everything. I am happy to have had that concern and then have that be proven correct in the term that, yes, there were not enough. So now look at what you have to deal with. Now you have the nightmares. You also have the entire, essentially the entirety of Elbaf, not essentially, potentially the entirety of Elbaf working against you as powered up super giants, powered up super evil giants, anti-giants, anti-good giants, literally fulfilling their names, right? Like the red ogre and the blue ogre.
Oh,
right?
yeah, true.
I mean, literally becoming those their namesakes, which is really cool. I mean, there's no way that they were ever subjected to this in the past, but it's kind of cool that kind of is it's not an Usopp lie that came true, but it is something that did. They're fulfilling their namesakes, I guess.
Yeah.
But now having to deal with all of this, there's plenty, more than enough fodder for drama and for conflict to last the arc for some time. I thought that the arc was going to be wrapped up by fall. Prior to this chapter, I thought there was just, it has to be an escape of some sort. Big Mom's family might factor into it along with Aruj. There might be something in there, but like, I don't even know how an escape could be interesting, because they already did an escape arc, and I was just perplexed because I had no idea how he could move the story forward. It didn't make sense. Perfect. This is a very interesting way, not only to create an arc here, but can you imagine and this is also an idea I had, but also brought up to me in private. What if the Blackbeards get turned like this? Because there has to be some sort of dynamic that goes on between the power balance of Emu and Blackbeard, right? They're two major antagonists in the end game of the story. Which one is going to be the big bad?
Yeah. Who
wants that power? Who can have that power? Obviously, Emu is some sort of ancient evil, right?
Right.
It's a near deific entity.
Yeah.
Even if they do have human origins, like whatever their power is, it is near deific, and if not a demon itself. And you have Blackbeard, who is also this villain, but seems to have really, like, he says that he wants these things. He says that he wants to do this, and yet he keeps doing he keeps making odd choices. We don't really know where he stands.
Yeah.
So to have, what would occur if Blackbeard and his crew were subjected to this? Here's a very simple idea. What if Blackbeard is able to take this power, take Emu's power for himself, and then change his crew? And essentially change the people of the world against Luffy. That would remove the threat remove Emu as an entity to be defeated, establish Blackbeard as the main, and I'm talking in very broad, simple terms here, as in like basically just the kid playing with toys. But that would make Blackbeard a central focused villain, final villain. And this goes against my idea that Luffy and Blackbeard must cooperate, and Dark and Light must cooperate against this Emu. I still think that's a perfectly viable idea. But what if Blackbeard was able to be focused on as the main villain by defeating Emu, receiving this ability, and then making essentially a demon pirate crew to fight against the Straw Hats. That's another interesting way this could end up, or way this power could be utilized. I don't know if it will or not. I still prefer my idea of Luffy and Blackbeard needing to cooperate on some level. But yeah, that's a thought that entered my mind.
So I have a counter to this idea. The question would be, so we haven't yet mentioned, I mean, this is quite obvious from reading the manga, the theming here of the Reversi or the Othello board game, right? Where you see the giants in between the Dorian Brogi get flipped over, and then they turn black, and then, you know, in the next chapter they make it, Oda makes it very explicit, right? Of like, he literally shows you pieces on the board being turned over.
Yes.
And therefore, you know, it kind of suggests, or it leaves the unspoken question or the expectation, much like you're talking about your gym buddy Luffy and Eneru. There's a sort of natural, like, okay, well, if Emu turns them evil, turns them black, how do they turn over in white? Well, you know, what better source to do that than, you know, the guy who is the incarnation of the god that all of the, you know, the people in Elbaf worship, who they're primed to, you know, to see as a savior figure and all of this stuff, who has a white you know, visual motif. So obviously, you know, you're expecting now, okay, Luffy will be the key to flipping them back over and kind of undoing Emu's power. So if we see that here, you know, obviously I'm making an assumption, but I do feel like that's what we're being led to expect. How do you maintain any kind of dramatic tension if Blackbeard ends up using the same thing on his crew later on down the line?
Sure. And that lines up with the, why would Blackbeard want the dragon zone fruit, right? Because the previous argument that I made was that, you know, what if Blackbeard is looking for the most powerful of each type of fruit, or what he considers the most powerful of each type of fruit? So darkness, earthquake, and dragon. How would you make that interesting if you just did dragon again? We already did, you know, an Eastern style dragon fight. I agree. However, you can take it much further. You notice the visual differences in these guys, right? How they get the kind of like I don't know how to describe it other than like the Balinese almost fangs.
Oh yeah. The long curved fangs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which makes me question, like, what are they? The numbers? Was that their name?
Yes.
Were the numbers
and they were
subjected to this?
Right. They were said to be ancient giants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they subjected to this as well? Like, did they have, or is that just a trait of the ancient giants? Like,
yeah.
What's the point of having these fangs? Because they also deliberately had them, and I don't think back in Wano that Oda had this kind of complex idea for that origin. I think he just thought they looked cool and scary. But what if there's something more to it, in terms of the origin of them? So visually, I think visually it's a very tempting choice for Oda. Obviously, he likes this devil theme. It's something he's done for a long time. If you look back in some of the early, like, Robin, like Yonkoma manga, the like 3 or 4 panel comics that he did, where he draws her pretty much as a succubus. He really likes this idea. He thinks it looks cool as a villainous kind of theme, and he's carried that through. I mean, she had the whole devil woman theme
the demonio,
in Wano as well. I think it's too tempting for him, especially with the massive demon figure that he had that's depicted on the tree in the old sketchings. Um, I think that, what was it? I was always concerned that there was a numbers issue, and not the numbers of Wano, but in terms of people going against the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats will have so many people working with them and on their side, and it's showing up in this arc in a small way almost. It's like a microcosm for it.
Mm-hmm.
Things seem so much in their favor that, like, how do you change the tide? How do you make more villains?
Mm-hmm.
With having so many people from around the world on their side, and with the world government probably being exposed by the end of this, why would anybody in the world fight against what Luffy and the crew are going for, trying to accomplish? And the answer to that is you change everybody to be against them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I feel that this needs to be utilized in that way and on that level, on a almost global scale, so that the odds in the final battle are so horrifically stacked against the Straw Hats that their victory is resounding. You cannot get the level of dramatic tension that the story would require unless you have a massive force going against the Straw Hats. And this was always my problem with it just being the Blackbeard pirates, is like they have a lot of people going for them, but the Straw Hats have not only do they have a fleet, but they have entire armies from around the armies of countries from around the world.
True.
That are basically at their beck and call. How do you match that? And this is the perfect opportunity for it, is to be able to just say, all right, you have all of those people who are for you, flip, now they're your enemy. And you're right about, okay, if it's reused for Blackbeard and that's our main villain, then like how is that interesting? I think from a design perspective, Oda would have a field day with it, and he finds that interesting in and of itself. Like he would go, can you imagine how crazy he'd go with those designs of the main crew? There's that. But I think this ability must be used against the Straw Hats in the final battle, so that the odds are stacked so horribly against them. Nothing else could make the odds that high and raise the stakes that high for the end of this massive, massive story. And I had no idea how he could do it until this moment. Do you think that his Othello, or I guess, what is it? Eagle? Reversey. Shenanigans in Wano had anything to do with this?
Yeah, with the board game metaphors.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
It's the same thing. I think he really, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. It did remind me of that when he actually drew the pieces on a board.
This also raised an interesting question for me: is, can you imagine if Lucci ate this? Like, if Lucci was subjected to this?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fucking amazing? Because he has that like, I Straw Hat is like, I must defeat you because it is my job, but I respect the shit out of you as a powerful individual. But if you just took all of that out of the way, it just made him this beast, because he is already a beast, a bloodthirsty beast at that. Oh man,
yeah. It's a good video game, like sort of boss recycling
a reskin.
Yeah.
DLC. It is. It's a DLC.
Right. Add a 30% size increase, and give him a different skin and new phase. Yeah.
Regardless of whether this is utilized by Blackbeard or against the Blackbeard pirates, I absolutely believe this ability will play into the final arc to turn the odds against the Straw Hats massively on a global scale.
I mean, and of course you have to imagine here. I mean, this is obviously we're going kind of a field of like what Oda is showing us in this moment, but like if this is Imu's power, and you know you were mentioning the stuff on the mural, you know, what did you call it, the giant abomination, the shadowy figure. Like if this is the same kind of, if this is like the root of Imu's power, then you almost have to assume that this was kind of central to the resolution of the ancient war in some way. That this is kind of like, you know, the pivotal power that that must be defeated in order for a good outcome to be possible in the story, you know, as a whole.
Yes.
So I don't know. That's just, yeah, that does make it more exciting, because my first impression when I saw this was like, I kind of had that like I felt like a kid watching Power Rangers again, which is like, well, why didn't they just do this from the start? Like, why did it take 110 volumes to get to like, oh, the bad guy just can turn people into demons and control them? Like, how many chances have we seen for this to have happened before, and not seen it? And obviously, you know, part of it is that it's, you know, he's making it up as he goes along, and you don't want to, you know, take things out of order. There's a certain satisfaction to seeing the story build up slowly over the years. But you know, we still don't necessarily have a satisfying reason for why this didn't get employed earlier, or why you would need you know, ancient weapons and things like that if you can just, you know, turn all of your enemies into, you know, super soldiers that obey your every word and stuff like that.
I, sir, beg to differ.
Okay.
I think there has been a fairly acceptable, digestible reason
Okay.
for this, and that is simply that the control of information is that if word were to get out that this power existed, then the existence of Imu or something like it would be brought into question. And the whole idea, remember, even on Egghead, or yeah, I was going to say Punk Hazard, Egghead, yes. Even back in Egghead, he was careful to add that little bit of lore in that, like, nobody above X class, what was it, like,
Yeah, above,
Hombu Chujo or something like that?
right? Yeah, nobody who's like not a Commodore, but you know, something like that is allowed to witness the elders.
Yes. And that makes sense because of what we know, what we knew of the world up to that point, because only we saw it through our characters' eyes, and our eyes and their eyes were clouded to all this as well, because the information was just held back. You also have the separation of the islands. While there are newspapers and technology does exist, we must remember that it is we're seeing now, and the kind of level of interaction that we're seeing now and communication that occurs is very small scale compared to the world. The world is largely back in like Flintlock era, right?
Right.
Especially continental areas. I say continent, it's not as much as continents, but like, yes,
Yeah.
like the larger the larger land masses they're in kingdoms.
Yeah.
So
And now that you mention it too, we have literally seen on multiple occasions an example of you know, the prototypical like press in the world of One Piece is like a guy, a giant Birdman who is very clearly like he'll take bribes, and he'll also, you know, he'll also refuse to take bribes in order to push out a story that he finds interesting. Like he's very clearly you know, a player with his own ideas of how information should be spread, and therefore that, you know, that obviously means, okay, so yes, stories can be covered up because we've seen how it happens.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I do buy it.
Okay.
That is a valid question, and uh, can we kind of put it to Oda for not having brought this up before, or some foreshadowing to it? I
Right.
think if you dig deep enough, there probably is something in there, and maybe, you know, we'll find out something from even the inscriptions that Robin read
Hmm.
on the poneglyph. Like if we find out that those weren't just jargon and like, oh, well, like some of those takeovers or some of those conquests, like
Right.
if some of those were actually involved in this and similar conflicts, then like, okay, then he kind of not
He covered his bases a little
he
bit
covered
there.
his
Yeah.
bases a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
you can very easily say that he just picked a random name and used it back then.
Yeah.
And it's not the Goda that everybody is going to say that it is. It's not. No, he didn't have this exact idea in the past
No.
when he made that nonsense name, but he is an expert at going back to his previous material
Mhm.
and not retconning. Is something different. He does something unique. Is he fleshes out his old information
Yeah.
in a way that it feels natural. And he doesn't
Mhm.
always super succeed at it, but when he does, it feels like the Goda
Yeah.
that
It
people
feels magical.
construct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
That's my 2 cents on it. I don't wholly disagree with you. I think it's a valid concern, but I
Hmm.
think he's covered his bases for it.
Cool. All right. Well, why don't we move on to the most recent chapter then? That would be 1151.
Can I ask you about this
What's up?
title? Did you
Moyi
instantly
Wakata?
know? Yeah. Did you instantly know like who was going to say this and exactly what it meant when you read it?
No, no,
Fuck,
I wasn't thinking that
fuck,
far ahead.
damn
No.
it. I read it and I was just like, this is Luffy. He's not interested in what's going on. He's going to get shit done and it's going to end the
Yeah.
chapter.
Well, good on you. Yeah, I was not thinking that far ahead. But yeah, in retrospect, it does seem pretty apparent. But yeah, that is a fun observation. All right, so 1151. The Giants continue to be flipped using the reversey rules, and more sleep dids or Muma flood from the nightmare holes under a more humanoid Killingham's direction. All seems lost, and Gunko declares that the rampage will continue until Elbaf's heart is broken, which was supposed to happen under Harold.
Mm.
Down in the underworld, Chopper uses guard point to save Gibbon from his fall and reunites with Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. Loki has another conversation with his mystery phone friend, who says they won't be able to talk anymore. And lastly, a burst of evil hockey from above draws their attention, and they all prepare to go back up the tree.
Mm.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I liked this chapter.
This I didn't fully understand. Like, okay,
Which,
did I interpret this correctly? It's like Chopper falls, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're like, "Oh, Chopper falls. We need to go find him." And then immediately they're like, "There's Chopper and the person with him." Did it just happen like that? It, or did I misinterpret something that was going on here? Something bigger picture.
Well, Chopper jumps down after Gabon, and then he becomes the human, uh, the big cushion that they inflate for the people that fall off the buildings. He turns into that, and Luffy senses Chopper, and then he also notices that someone else is with Chopper, so they were.
Right.
So then they just go, and I think they bring him back, and they're like,
Right.
okay, that's when they find out
So
who it
like he
is.
did this whole like do 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 like all right, it's our mission to go get Chopper. All right, we got Chopper. Is that just how it went down? Because I was just like, what?
I guess so. I mean, yeah, not that you mentioned it, the don, like the big sound effects in the panel where they're just kind of standing there, like reacting to it, does
Yeah.
seem a bit much, I guess. Uh,
Well, because I was just like, oh man, they look so badass. I was like, this is the heroes, the beginning of the hero's journey. They're setting out, and they will find Chopper, and they found him exactly a page and a half later.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like that's just how it. I'm sorry, it hit me really really hilarious. Just like, oh okay, it was like super short mysteries, whatever that was. It's just like, all
yeah,
right.
yeah. Two sentence mysteries.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's also just because it's been a little while since we've seen them, so I guess he just wanted it to be a cool impact panel that
Completely
like,
agree.
yeah, it's just all right, cool. Luffy's back.
Yep.
Oh.
Uh, how hard did you laugh at number two? Number
Oh, that was great. Yeah,
two.
amazing.
Holy
Uh,
shit. I almost fell through. I read this in a teacher's office in a
uh,
teacher's room, like the full like the staff is there and they were having a
yeah.
meeting, and like I I had to cough to cover the laughter. I actually everybody's looking. I'm not
Uh-huh.
part of the meeting. I'm not involved in it, but
Yeah.
I was off to the
Uh,
side at my
God.
desk, minding my own business, reading, and I just get number two. Oh my god! Sorry, so cool. Yeah. Oh, what a great line. He's so good at that. It's just like kudaranai humor. It's just
Yeah.
so dumb.
Yeah, and it's great too because like just a couple panels before, like if your mind is working quickly, you can just see the joke happening immediately because it's not only do they say like, oh, this guy's probably the number three, but also before that, they're the wings of the king of the pirates, which is literally like how Zoro and Sanji are
Yes.
referred to. So
Yes.
like as if you weren't set up for the the bickering, like the these two guys are rivals over who's the second best.
Yes.
Yeah, it's right there for you.
When he said the number three, I was just like,
Hmm.
oh my god, I can't believe he settled that because he's never good. Like that's so out of character for Oda to just
Right.
kind of nonchalantly put that out there like that for these two. Number two. Oh,
Yeah,
motherfucker. He
just the
fucking
joke
got me.
setup. Yep.
Ah, son of a bitch. He's so good. He's so good at that. Great moment. Uh, is Mosako or Shaggy? Is
Hmm.
Shaggy further solidified as for you?
That's literally what I said. I was like, okay, if it doesn't have any detail that further specifies as Shirahoshi, then at the very least, he did absolutely nothing to dissuade me from the idea that it certainly could be Shirahoshi.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, man, that super polite speech it really sticks out.
Yes, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. Um, I guess we got a little bit more about the direct authority, as you mentioned before. Oh, who is it? What's his name? I'm sure the lore fiends, not necessarily One Piece, but the people who like to look for allusions to real world lore in here,
Hmm.
had a field day with killing him here and his horn, because that's the what I don't. I'm sorry. I love Norse mythology as a kid, but I'm not going to pull up anything other than Mjolnir in terms of
Oh,
what the trumpet is, like signaling Ragnarok.
uh-huh.
Because there was that trumpeter, right?
Is
That's like,
Yeah.
"Brrrr."
Was that the Gjallarhorn?
Oh my
Was
God,
that for
good on you.
Ragnarok? Okay.
Yeah.
See, the only reason I remember the only reason I remember that is because of Destiny, because it was a big weapon in Destiny.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but that sounds right. Yeah, there's got to be some horn that calls the big battle.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
good on him for adding that to it. Look. Oh my gosh. Speaking of killing him, his name
Hmm.
is spelled out here in English.
Yeah, just the way it's supposed to be spelled. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for taking one for the team.
There's a little backstory to this. Is
Yeah,
if I pull back the curtain a little bit, is sometimes
right.
they Shueisha, the editors
Hmm.
come to me saying, hey, how should this be spelled in English? And
Hmm.
they don't do it all the time, but they do it from time to time, especially for new names and things. And this was one where they came to me and they're like, what is the deal with killing him?
Hmm.
And they were literally like, we're afraid to call him killing because it's killing.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Was that a implicit?
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
They're like, we're not sure if we can put that into the foreign translation.
Hmm.
And I laid out the entire case. I said, look, here are my thoughts. Here was a translation that I like because I felt it contains the joke. However, the official translator had these thoughts as well, and it gels very well because it feels like um, a royal name especially kind of a British kind of
yeah.
royalty. It has that vibe going to it. And they were like, wait, what? And I was like, it has that British royalty vibe. And they're like, oh, cool. All right, great. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, no, it's fine. They're like, I just need a reason. Like if it ever comes up, like I just need a reason why we need to do that. And I was just like,
interesting.
You got it. Vaya con Dios. So yes, I could have
Mm-hmm.
the world could have had a kidding him, but all right.
Yes. Well, compromise.
I trust in Steven. So
thank you. What do you make? So this is a big question. Was like,
okay,
if this is his man beast, his hybrid form, then what was the last thing that he was like? Why why did he switch heads and in lower halves in this difference? Do you think that this is like is this like a chopper thing where he has multiple intermediate forms or what?
I absolutely do not even question anymore. He can pull up any kind of bullshit reason that he wants for anybody to look any way.
Yeah.
And then he can make perfect sense. It could. I mean, what if the dude is just a Kentauros? Kentauros. What if he's just a centaur? Yeah. What if he had his body modified to be a centaur?
Uh-huh. That's true. Yeah, it could be some ridiculous reason like that.
Yeah.
I was about to wonder, like, is it going to turn out that like his quote unquote human form is actually like a seahorse fishman or something? But then I realized that probably would not fly with the celestial dragons. I mean, that's
right.
That's a literal plot point that they do not hang with they do not sleep with the fishes there. So that's probably not the case. But
yeah. But they have interest in mermaids. That's weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, completely valid question. It's interesting, but at this point, Oda can just do so much that it doesn't even faze me. He can absolutely do chopper, many different chopper forms if he wants. Yeah, that's right. He had arms and legs, right? He had arms and legs, and he just had the head. The head was the
exactly.
Yeah. He can do all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, what was it? We had Smiles, right? Smiles could even like only parts of their bodies were transformable, right? Like parts of their body became certain parts of animals and things.
Yeah, that was how it started off. If you remember on Zoe, and I guess that is kind of technically how the smile fruit worked on Wano as well. Man, it's been too long since.
That's why it's so all over the place that like that's one of the things where he really has not establishing some ground rules for that has just kind of lost the dramatic tension for me. Like unless he's establishing rules, I have nothing to expect, and therefore I don't hold him to anything, so he can just do whatever he wants. So I don't really question.
Which I'm sure is what he likes. Just do whatever you want, Oda. I'm sure that's a big weight off his back. But
yes,
but yeah, some more concrete rules to play around with would certainly be more satisfying.
It would be a little bit more satisfying, but whatever. It's a fun story. Also, like speaking of whatever and setting some ground rules, I'm gonna bet that it's not there's no real significant movement behind this. But I did note that several sources tried to make a big deal of some reactions to Im's power in changing, in that there were a couple Japanese loud voices who were just like, "Nandayo kore?" Just like, what the hell is this? This is even this story? Like, what's going on? Like, can anybody just do whatever they want in this story now? Like, there are no rules, and it became a sort of a big thing. Uh, but I just had to laugh reading all of it because it's just like, what series have you been reading? Um, and if you have been reading this story, then like, don't you know that it's at one of its most dramatic, crescendos? We're at, it's not the end, but we're at the largely the end game of the story.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see some of the biggest, the craziest, and the most outlandish abilities and powers on display. So I don't even get how that's an issue at this point.
I mean, yeah, on some level, like if you're not seeing the craziest thing you possibly could, like, don't don't you get disappointed? Like, don't you want to see like something really wild and truly? Don't you want to look back and be like, oh yeah, that was as bad as it got for the Straw Hats. Like that was the toughest thing they ever had to do. Like that's what you want for the big bad.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. Like of all the things, that seemed like the least of my concerns or issues about it. I'm more on the minutia, right? Why does he have a horse body?
Right.
I like Loki's laugh. I don't know if we've heard
Doga-ha-ha.
that before. Doga-ha-ha. Doga. That's
he's used it before, but I don't think we've gotten any like real obvious tells as to how. Maybe it's just supposed like because he's going to have like he has lightning powers, right? So maybe it's just like dogong, like a lightning blast sort of.
That's exactly how it hit me as well. Just a thunder, cool. Literally a thunderous laugh.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
Cool laugh there. What's going on with the cover story? It's really taking a detour. Like,
yeah, now we're just in the vacation mode here. Yeah. We've gone to, what is it, Edomura? We're just going to the theme park.
Yes, Toei
to do the sumo cosplay. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was really paying attention to it, and I'm admittedly not, I'd probably see, where what level this journey has come. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like how far we've come. And then, have some idea of how much longer it can go. But like,
yeah,
I was kind of surprised when the last chapter did not wrap it up. Because that seemed like kind of a solemn and somber moment to leave it on. Mm-hmm. So, and yet it did not say like, Saishu Hen or Saishu Show or something. So, and nor did it this time. So what's next?
Yeah. I would assume there's some other, either we end with Yamato finishing it and being like, okay, I've seen everybody, like everything seems good here, like time to hit the seas or something, some sort of like setup for, look forward to what could the next thing to happen be, or something like that. But like I know we have not seen Cootie. Like I don't think we've seen.
Okay.
Right? Have we seen? I don't think we've seen.
I have no idea. I have no ideas. And thank you. That is exactly the kind of thing, like, if I was paying attention to it, I'd know that we hadn't been to here, and we probably need to go to here. My idea for the coolest ending for it would be a pair of very large hands coming out of the water.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get my hopes up, but that would be really cool.
All right.
Interesting.
Did we just do this? Did we just?
Sounds like we wrapped these chapters.
Wow.
But that's not going to be it for the discussion, because we do have some listener commentary and questions and stuff for us to discuss yet to come. So why don't we take a quick break, and we'll get back with the SGS.
Some actual SGS in the SGS.
It can be done. And we are back with the SGS segment. This is where we will take your comments and questions and responds to them. We will begin with the our Patreon segment. There's a special SGS channel for those Patreon members who are on our Discord, and so we will start with them. SNP has our first entry here. Heyo, Stephen, Greg, and Simba. I have 2 questions this week. One, I asked Stephen this already. Okay, I think we did talk about this, but I asked Stephen this already. But to Greg, what is your impression of Shaggy/Mosa? They're very polite, but are they leaning toward feminine or masculine, especially in this recent chapter when we finally see them talk a lot?
Okay, so if you go back to the reveal chapter, SGS that we did for that, Stephen and I talked about this at length. And I actually had like a revelation because of a reader question, where I was initially set on Kobe because of the politeness. And I was dead set on it. And then like a reader was like, what if it's Shirahoshi? And I was just like, wait, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. And yes, the politeness is completely up there with Shirahoshi. There are none of her tell quirks or mannerisms.
Right.
Like she doesn't call somebody something chin or something, right? Like I don't know how you translate that to English,
or you know, like Loki, or doing like the weird like Loki-san sama or whatever, where you know someone was introduced with one and then she adds the sama on top of it, that sort of thing. Those were very obvious, like Shirahoshi-isms.
But the overly politeness hit me as either a Kobe thing, or and then the more I thought about this, actually, I think I even said it in that is initially it hit me as feminine. But then I thought like, wait a minute, but Kobe would also speak like this with this like level of respect. But no, yeah, completely. It hits me very much as Shirahoshi. Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say, but it's as far as the feminine and masculine speech, which is a very good question, as I think in this particular case, because there are certain, like there are definitely certain forms of speech in Japanese that are explicitly feminine and explicitly masculine, and then there's like the neutral speech, which is polite and is you know, you can use both of them, particularly in like a business, you know, setting or some other formal setting. But I think there is, especially in characterization, this has the potential to be seen as feminine, not because there are feminine markers, but because I think just kind of like in the aggregate, like in the overall you know, breadth of the way that Japanese is used, like more it's like it's more acceptable for a woman to talk in it, like there's going to be more meant like God, how do I say this? Do you know what I'm getting at? Like,
I know exactly. You're vocalizing exactly what I'm thinking. Is that it's just there is and it's tough to say this in this day and age, but it is the culture. All right. This is not my opinion, but there is a submissiveness in speaking polite. All right.
Exactly.
Overly polite. And Kobe fits that. That is why I initially thought Kobe. Because he does lower himself. He puts himself below and he sees other people as bigger and higher. That carries over a sense of femininity. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying what it's like living in Japan using Japanese.
Right. It's just the type of patriarchy that exists there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way that's how I was thinking of it, which is that there's a masculine sense of like, you don't, in many cases you don't need to speak that pristinely and like you know, humbly towards other people or politely towards other people, especially in One Piece, where, you know, so many of the characters are rough and tumble. Like, you know, 75% of the characters, if not more, are just ore, you know, when they talk, which is like just tough dude, because that's the kind of, you know, it's the kind of series that it is, and so that just makes it stand out even more as like, I don't aside from Kobe, maybe I don't know if any other male character comes to mind. In that specific, not many characters overall, anyways, but especially, in terms of the male female part.
Opposite end of the spectrum, just to balance things out, you have someone like Boa, who speaks significant, I mean, very quote unquote polite Japanese. However, it is a very different tone in that it's commanding.
Yes.
And she is super feminine in her speech, and yet it is not inherently quote unquote submissive. It's the opposite. It is a commanding form of the speech.
Yes.
Demanding even. Very different ways of speaking. It's come here, live here, learn the language, and you'll feel it in everyday life. It's very strange, but you can tell exactly how someone is by in their personality, in the way that they speak. It's really cool and terrifying as a foreigner.
Yeah. All right, and then the second question here is a translation question regarding. Okay, so there's a panel in chapter 960. I'm not sure if you are looking at this channel as well, Greg, but this is it's the page from Oden's flashback where they are on Fishman Island, and he and Roger are overhearing the Coyote, the Sea Kings, the Neptunians talking about the king or the monarch who will be born soon, back in that flashback. So the Sea King says, "The birthing is at hand. Our sovereign will soon be born, and another in a distant sea. Is it fair to assume that will soon be born is only applied to Shirahoshi and not another in a distant sea?" In the third bubble, I know in Japanese the phrase "umareru is in the third bubble, but does that mean they haven't been born yet, or does it mean they already are? So I guess this is following up. So
what chapter again? I'm sorry.
968.
968. Okay.
Yeah.
Samsonite. I was way off.
Yeah, Slappy. I'm going to connect the dots here for S&P, because I believe what they're suggesting is like, okay, so if we're assuming that Shirahoshi is the other person on this phone call with Loki, and you're connecting the dots between them, does that mean that these two sovereigns they're talking about in Oden's flashback are referring to Shirahoshi, which we obviously knew that already, but is the other one referring to Loki perhaps? I'm that's my reading between the lines of these questions. And I guess they're trying to get at, like, because Loki is we know that Loki is older, does that mean that this does this support that fact? Let me know if you get the
Okay, got it up. Yeah, I'm reading it.
You got it. Okay, cool.
Yep. We hit this, didn't we? So what is the translation question? Was there a question, or is just like, what do you think about this?
So we have the umareru yo, bokutachi no o ga umareru yo, toi umi demo umareru ne. So yeah, we obviously know from from obvious context in that first bubble, they're talking about Shirahoshi because she has not quite been born yet, but it will happen soon, and we know that she is obviously was it not Poseidon? She is Poseidon, so she has a special link to the Sea Kings, and so the question is, the next one, when they say in a distant sea,
yes.
There will be another one is born, and then of course what is it? The whales are delighting over the day that they will meet. So is that second person, is the other one that they're talking about in a distant sea? Will they soon be born as well, or have they already been born? So based on the tense here, it sounds to me like it is also happening after the point that they're talking.
It does.
Uh, it
To
is
me,
not a past tense, right?
to me, it sounds that way.
Sometimes these things are tricky with certain verb, like much as like in English, Japanese, there are patterns to the way that verbs work, and there's a certain expectation that you can have based on tenses for just about all of them, but there are certain exceptions, or there are certain verbs that work in ways that you might not expect. For example, like if someone is dead, sometimes there's a certain period where they will say shinderu, which means like it doesn't mean they died. It means they like literally like they are dying, or they like it sounds like they're saying they are dying, but they are actually already dead at that point. There's certain verbs that in this vein that might be a little bit tricky to parse if you're not familiar with the way that they work. But this to me seems like this version of being born, umareru, like that's you would only say that if it is going to happen in the
Yeah.
future.
Yes.
So,
So
so
what?
yeah,
What is the? Is there any point of contention or suspicion or like
right. So
what
while
is
you
it?
were looking that up, I
I'm
was
sorry.
explaining that I think reading between the lines, what S&P is
Right.
wondering is if Loki is the other person being
Yes.
mentioned here, because if we're assuming that Shirahoshi is the phone partner. So given I don't do we get an age for Loki? I forget
We
if
do,
he
I
was
think we do. Yeah. I'm sorry. I
yeah.
have not been paying attention to it
And
because
he's
it doesn't
right.
matter to me until the end of the arcs these days. But
uh he's definitely not 15 or 16
he's what
or
he should be.
however.
He was married. He was born around the time that Big Mom was on there, right? On the island? No?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, in the flashback, right. That Hyruden was already born and Loki was being born in the castle at that point. And Big Mom is 60 something, so and she was a kid. So yeah, that he's 50 something probably.
Okay.
So based on that and the timeline of,
She was
when
like
when
8 when
Odin
she
was
got there,
alive,
so
right. So I
okay,
would
and looking
assume
it up
that
right now, it says an AI overview is telling me that he's 63.
thank you, AI.
All right.
Uh okay. We'll
Okay.
take that
So
with a
and
grain of salt, but sure.
also Reddit is telling me. So I think I'll go with the AI. Um but no, that sounds right. But yeah, no, wait, we discussed this. This came up before as well. In a past SGS.
Did it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There's no reason this shouldn't be. I mean, back then when this first came out, you could have been like, were they talking about Luffy?
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to assume that it could have been Luffy, especially when you say like mo sugu, right? Like soon, or like umareru,
The
like will be, right?
Yeah, it will be
Like
born, right?
in their age, like in a bit or a little bit, mm, it probably means nothing.
True. Yeah.
Right? Um, oh man, you know what'd be crazy? No, never mind. That's stupid. Um, sorry, ideas.
Because
Um,
yeah, well,
but
like I think if you look at because this flashback was probably what was this like 25 years ago at least, right? Because they traveled 20 years in time, and this was during his travels, and then he went back to Wano, and there was more time after that. So this was probably at least what 10 or yeah, it's in the scene right here. 10 years until one is born, and that would be presumably Shirahoshi. So so yeah, this is 10 years before Shirahoshi was born. Then that is a
well,
blink of an eye
hold
to
on.
those guys.
There is it. Where's that fading occurring? But Oden is with him, so that dates it,
Yes.
and he's got the mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oden with him. Was Oden with him that long ago? To that you man, I'm not doing a timeline for this. I'm sorry. I've done that. I've been there. I've enjoyed it, and not my thing anymore. But um, to go 10 years, and then she is. So in 10 years, she'll be born.
15.
She is what now? She's like 16, 15?
15, I think. Yeah. I mean, that's what he
20,
says in here. It takes
26.
another 15 for her to get bigger.
So 25. Mosuga. How long ago was Oden with him?
I mean, I would
That's
guess
the problem.
that's 25 years then. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes. So he would have already been born.
Loki, yes.
See, Oden being here is problematic because this is a flashback. If you look at how it's handled, right? The background, the Roger Pirate crew are separating. You know, we're finished. That is a separate color of black than the below flashback. So it's a flashback within a flashback.
Right.
So if Oden wasn't there, you could easily make the argument that this occurred at a previous journey, a previous time. But him being there makes that really.
It's a very specific point in time, right?
There is time that passes between them hearing that and Charlie making the prediction. But you can't say that it's for what would it be, 40 years or so?
Yeah.
You can't say there's 40 years in between that. 25. Yeah. That's hard. Like, theoretically, you'd want it to be Loki. And especially talking about the whales, like, okay, well then does the king of the giants control the whales? Like, is that their thing? I don't know if it makes sense for them to say Umareru, Toyumi de Umareru, and mean Loki, because Loki should have already been born.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But let's see. God damn it, Oda. You could also make the argument that, like, the king was not yet the king, so the king is not yet born. He's not king yet.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Now we're really picking this apart.
He could do that, and it's a total thing for Oda to do. It's a bullshit argument, but he could if he would win it.
You know, if this turns out to be some like, oh shit, Roger's death and Ace's birth aren't quite close enough. Like I gotta find a reason, you know.
Yep.
If it's one of those things.
Yep.
I mean, I guess there's precedent for.
And I still like the Loki idea. However, I don't think the timeline matches up.
I don't think so either.
But I still like the idea, and I think he has room to make a bullshit argument, as he often does. If it ends up being Loki.
Yeah, I am like in terms of like interest. I am definitely invested in the idea that Shirahoshi is the other person on the line, but you know, we're making a lot of assumptions on assumptions here, so don't want to get too carried away. So we will go on to Prison Mike as our next message here. Good morning / afternoon / evening, Stephen, Greg, and Simba. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the panel with Luffy knowing it was Chopper falling. I'm back and forth about whether this is observation hockey or voice of all things making a bigger presence. My only real argument for voice of all things being that Luffy questions why he knows that it was Chopper. The way I see it, observation hockey getting better is most likely, but voice of all things is most interesting. Did you think about that at all in you know, that little scene?
Let's go back to it, because I remember reading the panel, and in addition to being like, wait, that was super fast, thinking that there was an odd exchange that went on during it. Let's see. Let me read it one more time. Okay. How do we know that voice of all things and observation hockey are mutually exclusive?
that's kind of like where I feel like it might be going, is that it is just kind of like the super powered version of observation hockey, which is, that's not a crazy observation. That's not a crazy guess to make because they work in similar ways. But
Yeah. I've
uh,
always, not always, but I guess largely since we've learned that both Shirahoshi and Momonosuke
mhm,
are basically geniuses at observation hockey,
mhm.
that, and maybe I'm incorrect, maybe there's somewhere that stated that no, that is not observation hockey, that has only been stated to be voice of all things. I don't think it has been. I think the voice of all things has actually been used far less.
Mm.
In fact, I don't remember it having been used since. Do you? Since it was first
Since,
mentioned by Rayleigh?
hmm, I
Tadabom,
mean, it certainly hasn't been mentioned, right? Like it's just like, oh well, Luffy is doing a weird thing and he doesn't understand it, and therefore, the assumption is that it is that the thing that Rayleigh mentioned, but I don't think anyone else has actually used that term.
Yeah, I don't think so. Um, I think that hearing the voice of all things, and more than that, being able to communicate with it, is probably Luffy's probably approaching genius level, because observation hockey is also it's this is why Oda's it's so odd and amorphous. Like it seems linked to the power of what we once knew as mantra, right? Being able to
Right.
read enemy attack, being able to read the future, and that has largely been what Luffy has improved, especially in Whole
Yes.
Cake Island.
Yes.
However, we also know that he has basically intro level voice of all things, but we also know that what I believe we know that what Momonosuke and Shirahoshi pull off is also observation hockey. In that they cannot, they don't only hear the voices, they can communicate with them. And that was
Mm.
Roger's thing as well, is he could hear them, but he didn't necessarily speak with them.
Uh,
As far as we know, maybe he gained that ability during some time, but this seems to be Luffy. That's a good point, really. It seems to be Luffy breaking down the barriers of what it was, because we knew that Luffy could not communicate with Zunisha, right? He could hear Zunisha, he could hear something, but
right.
he couldn't speak back to it.
Only
However,
Momonosuke.
being genius born, Momonosuke did have the ability to. We don't know that Momonosuke has the ability to read movements yet,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
So observation hockey seems to be somewhat complex. Not that Haoshoku or Conquerors isn't itself, because Conquerors has like the idea of ambition, right? Like this strong baki
Right.
baki power, right? This
Right.
strong tingling, like almost like key like power. But you also have the ability to imbue that in objects as well and hold it in objects.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems that every branch of hockey has some sort of double use or branching use. And
Hmm.
this seems to be Luffy reaching out, being able to recognize. I mean, didn't didn't Usopp, wasn't he also able to know through observation hockey?
He was able
Didn't
to
he see
see.
Law and Luffy, like their visages clearly?
He saw
Did he see blobs?
Sugar, right? To hit her with the
He saw
projectile.
her, but when he saw them, did he not see their silhouettes clearly? I think he did.
Yeah, he saw something. It was, I forget if it was the same way that we see Fujitora see the, or like sense the people. I don't remember if it was uh depicted exactly the same way, but
It
it was
was
similar in that
similar.
style.
It was
Yeah.
similar, but I think Usopp's were more clear. Fujitora was able to see amorphous humanoid
Yeah, they
blobs,
were amorphous for sure.
but I do believe that Usopp saw much clearer. which would suggest that if but Usopp also didn't sense, he saw.
Mhm.
Did Luffy sense this, or did he literally see Chopper? Was he able to
Right.
do the kind of sight to sight? Oh my God! Does Luffy have sight beyond sight? Sword of omens.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. Like when you point out that the Momo and Shirahoshi, like that would suggest that like there is some sort of hereditary aspect to the voice of all things.
Oh
And
yeah,
there's like I don't know if there's an overlap, but they're definitely like kind of different shades of the same power that manifests in different ways.
yeah,
That is interesting about the like who can talk to
yes.
the sources, because I didn't really think about that is a distinction that Oda has been
Mm-hmm.
making now that you mention it.
That's why it's kind of messy, and that's why it's frustrating to
Yeah.
think about, is because he has not set ground rules for this, and both observation haki and conquerors seem to have these like branching uses, which
Mhm.
is interesting. But again, if he's not setting rules for it, then it's kind of like okay. But I, I I'm just running with the assumption that someday you're going to clear this up, or make and establish a rule. But it's been a long time. It's been a
Yeah.
really long
Been a really
time.
long time.
And that's maybe why I seem like I'm kind of laissez-faire about it. That's not the case. It's just that I'm waiting for something to happen in terms of establishment, because it's tough to keep grasping at straws for it. But
Yes. Yeah.
uh, if this is the case, then maybe there is something to my initial thought that Luffy will at one point by the end of the series be able to communicate with everybody in the world.
Mhm.
If we Because this is a hint to that end, that he is
Sure. Yeah.
improving.
Mhm.
So would be kind of cool. That was from way
Yeah.
back. That was from the whale, inside the whale, somewhere around there when they were on their way
Yeah.
back from the whale tree.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Hopefully, so yeah, there you go. Not, a very inconclusive answer, but hopefully you found all of our musing interesting there. Lastly, here we have Big Mike who says, "Is it possible Lilith might be the next crew member, and would the role of a scientist be necessary for the Straw Hats to have on their crew?" Well, I mean, Lilith, as Vegapunk Lilith did say at the start of this arc, "Oh, this is great. I'm gonna build a lab here, and I'm gonna do all my stuff again, and get everything rolling again." Obviously, there's a bit of an emergency happening right now, so we can't necessarily take that as a gospel prediction for what Lilith will do, but it is certainly like an obstacle to contend with, because it does not sound like that is part of the plan right now.
I see Lilith as Carrot,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not looking down on Lilith. That's not any shade. It's just I see Lilith as an important character that needs to be with the crew, because oh my God, I think I even reasoned this out at one point, because Lilith does have information or doesn't have information that Vegapunk is privy to. No, because Lilith was kept out of a certain conversation because Lilith was doubted. Oh, I don't even remember it. But I did come up with a reason why Lilith logistically should be with the party in order for Vegapunk shenanigans in the future to make sense. And
Mm-hmm.
I never wrote it down, and I don't think I expounded upon it. Maybe I did. Maybe we talked about it. But do I see her becoming a crew member? No. Not that I don't
Yeah.
want to, but just when you have such better candidate, that sounds like I'm putting her down, but I'm not. But when you have stronger candidates who have much tighter connections to the crew, I don't necessarily see it.
Yeah.
But I think Lilith is purely along to be a vehicle for any Vegapunk information that's needed to be conveyed, because Vegapunk's role in the story is not done yet.
Absolutely.
Because they're making did I understand this correctly? Are they making an actual physical clone of Vegapunk? Like, is that something they're
Uh,
working on? I forget. Do they have him in a pod or something like that?
yeah, I think they did. Yeah, I think they did say that. That was again, going back several months now, and that hasn't really come up in the story. So
Right.
I can't remember off the top of my head if
Okay.
that was exactly the case. But
I think at one point, maybe when they like came to Elbaf or something like that, like Lilith was
yeah,
having some sort of expa conversation with
yes,
oh my god, not Ginny,
was with Saul or
with Bonnie,
with
Bonnie.
Bonnie. Okay, yeah,
Yeah. And I think she was like, yeah, we can make him again or something like that. We can
that's
rebuild him,
right.
make him stronger. And honestly, I just want to see all of them dock. I would I used to see all of them just do a docking thing
Yeah,
once and for all.
if they could do that, then sure, like then you're welcome on the crew, Lilith. If you can
Yeah.
be our giant robot member.
I'm fairly certain that Lilith also her day, and as well as the other Vegapunk parts, their days might be numbered
Hmm.
because I, I think that the conclusion he's going to reach is that I need all of these parts working. I need to be a single person because
Mm-hmm.
my ambition, my desire,
Hmm.
cannot be kept. It cannot operate by itself.
Yeah, see, you don't want that as an independent entity.
Yeah. So I think they're going to have to rejoin. I think that's the point. And
Interesting.
basically why she's alive as well. She's alive so the other side has information. And by she, I mean York.
York,
So
yeah.
the other side has information. They have the capability and technology that they could possibly need. And the ability for redemption in that being rejoined. And that
Mm-hmm.
Vegapunk should probably be a single entity. Hopefully expressed as docking. I have that dream.
There we go. All right. That's all for the Patreon segment, but we do also take questions, of course, on other social media platforms, such as Blue Sky and Twitter. You can use the hashtag SGS Sensei, and we usually put out a call for comments a day or two before recording as well. So we will go over to Blue Sky here. Oatleafs.bsky.social says, this is from a month ago, but it is new. Hi, Stephen, Greg, and Simba. I was making onigiri last night, and it reminded me that many of Zoro's attack names are puns. What are some of your favorite puns in One Piece, and does Stephen have more favorite translations that were modified to make more sense in English, such as midterm exclam? That was from Saul. It's oh man, it's impossible to have a full slate of them to list off because there are so many things that I would probably look back on them and be like, oh haha, yeah, that was a good one. I think the one crazy one, the one really crazy one for me that I remember is Marco's attack that
Yeah.
he used in
Yeah.
Wano. That was what did I call it? It was like Phoenix Pineapple, and it was some crazy. I wish I remember what what the kanji was. It was something where it had Phoenix in it, but Phoenix was also part of like the Chinese word for pineapple. And
Yes.
so it was Oda making a joke about the fact that his Phoenix powers and he also looks like a pineapple. And I had to really stretch for that one, but that one came together in a very satisfying way. Um, I know. Obviously, this is going to be like the English translation part of it is going to be more familiar to me than to you, Greg. Do you have any like Oda gags that you remember that were
So
ridiculous puns?
the question wasn't limited to attack puns, right? Just like
It was
puns.
just favorite puns in One Piece.
This is I don't think this counts because a pun would be intentional, right? And this is
Hmm.
this is in what's the word for this when you I do this all the time, and I used to know the word for it. I used to call myself it, but my brain power has decreased over the years. When you not misquote,
like
misnomer
a
something. When you
or yeah, misnomer. There's malapropism. I think that's more.
malapropisms. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
This is a malapropism, and so I don't think it technically counts as a pun,
Oh
but it
boy.
had to be constructed by Oda, and therefore it is on some level a pun. But when I'll never forget this, when Luffy is escaping from Impel Down and they're on the ship and they get the phone call and they're just like it's super tense and everybody's like, oh man, we're like we got to be careful, how we deal with this. And Luffy picks it up and says, hi, I'm Luffy, I'm going to be the Pirate King, who's this? And,
Mm-hmm.
they're just like, why do you have the ship? I forget the exact conversation, but the point is Luffy gets pissed, he yells at the person on the other end of the line, and he ends it with so you better be ready for me and wash your potatoes. And the line is in Japanese, it's wash your neck.
Right.
And the reason it's super threatening, but it's wash your neck because I'm going to cut it. So make sure it's clean for me when I cut your neck, like when I separate your head from your body.
Right.
It's a super, super threatening way of like, and Luffy totally intends to say it that way, but he ends up saying, make sure to wash your potatoes. It's kubi arate koi. Kubi arate koi, but he says imo arate koi. He's a fucking idiot. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
That's a really great one.
That the original, like the thing he was trying to say is definitely, yeah, it's a classic, threatening line that you do hear a lot in manga and stuff. That's a good answer. Let's see. Bear Anchor Oak .bsky.social says, hey gentlemen, every island we visit with a kingdom has that character that remains there to rule after being heavily influenced by the Straw Hats, such as Dalton, Vivi, Momo, etc. My question, if Elbaf is still standing, will that character be Loki or Hyrule?
That is the $1 million question. Yep. Indeed.
And that's a tough one because, Hyrule is currently the, captain of the giant pirates or the new giant pirates under the Straw Hat fleet. So, on some level, he would kind of have to, he would kind of have to do the Jinbei and Big Mom thing with Luffy to stay. Not that Luffy would care, I think, but, that's where his allegiance lies currently. And I think he would require being kind of forced back into duty for him to decide to be the leader of Elbaf.
This is such an astute question. This is probably the most interesting, dramatic point of the arc to me. I know there's lots of people who want the action, who want this and that. I am super interested in the relationship between these two, and how it will end up. There's a lot of drama that's going on there, especially with the mixed blood. That is such a hot topic in Japan, and I'm sure Oda is working on that, working off of that, with mixed racial children in Japan, being raised in Japan, and dealing with to what society do they belong.
Right.
Number one interesting aspect of the arc to me, dramatically speaking. And I've done a lot of thinking about it, and I don't really have a good answer. I think that if we are to believe that is Shirahoshi on the other end, then it must indeed be, ultimately, it must be Loki. Especially if Loki's Heart of Gold is as good as we think it is. But the question is, does Loki take it? Does he, if he's offered the position, will he take it? Well, which one of them? And here's this. If you can answer this, then you'll answer the question. Between Hyrule and Loki, which one wants to be a pirate more? Like, which one wants the freedom? Which one wants to do whatever they want and go wherever they want to go, and which one has the power to rule. If you want a good ruler, I think you have to go with Hydradean as someone who can be level-headed and control. And I think Loki is just he would want to go and do his own thing, explore, maybe pillage. I don't know. I don't know if he'd be a good leader, but I think he'd be a loyal leader. I think he'd be loyal to his people and do whatever they needed to make sure they survived if he did have that position. And once everybody knows the truth, because he's basically against everybody right now, right? He's like, you all wouldn't believe me anyway.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And that's been strongly hinted at, that, whatever was going on. And also that everyone's honor seems to be intact. Because it was just, what did he say? Was it Summers or somebody? If Harold didn't Shikujita, if he didn't screw up.
He didn't screw up. Yeah.
Yeah. Harold seems to have made maybe he was led down a poor path, but he seems to have made an 11th hour decision that saved everyone, or that sacrificed himself and saved the giants. But I don't know if that was a change of heart or whether he was playing the government the whole way. Not really sure. But at this point, everyone's honor has the potential to be intact. Loki, of course, we knew almost from the start on the podcast. That was given. But Harold as well might have saved face. Not quite sure yet, but yeah. Who do you think between these two would want to be the leader more, and who would be comfortable staying at Elbaf? Or is that even what the leader's calling for at this point? Would the leader of Elbaf at this point, instead of holding up on their island, would the king actually benefit the people by moving out into the world? And if that's the case, then maybe Loki makes sense. At this junction, it's a who's stronger, Zoro or Sanji argument. Because you can make excellent cases for both. And that's why it's the most interesting dramatic aspect of the arc for me so far.
Yeah, that's a good one. Very, very interesting stuff to think about. Let's see. Okay. Changing gears here. The SBS is a bad influence on me. At OPP got me into B Sky. Dear OPP Sensei, it's Pride Month, so I can be a good ally. Can I do a mixed bath with that hot stud Yamato and that cute ladyboy Okiku? I'm vert, so I can wash Yamato's back while Okiku washes my back. Okay. I'm doing the like Zach's favorite expression, which is that grumpy Luffy face right now.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I need some education here.
Okay.
Did you say vert?
Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know. Is that might be slang? I'm over 40, so
not only am I over 40.
Yeah.
I also have lived in Japan for almost 20 years now.
Yeah, you have a even bigger handicap to figure that out.
Okay. All right. Okay. Wait. Okay. Let's do this live. Education is.
Are you Googling this right now?
Yes. Okay. What does vert mean? Oh, Reddit has an answer for me. I'm sure they'll.
Okay. What does the AI say?
The AI says, in the context of extreme sports like skateboarding, snowboarding, and BMX, vert is a term to describe competitions or activities on a vert ramp. So, vertical ramp.
I could have told you that one.
Vertical ramp. All right. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Oh, goodness. Oh, Urban Dictionary. Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Is it safe to read?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a very clean podcast here. We're going to keep it that way.
Good question. Wait, did they say am I safe to? Can I? Was that what the question? Can I?
Yeah, that was the question.
Go for it. All right.
Okay. All right. Next one from Paul Scott at Chicken008. says, now that we've seen Gunkimu's Domi Reversi powers, what do you think of characters like Roger Whitebeard and Blackbeard mentioning that the world will be turned upside down? Is the world a game? Will people turn to demons? Are ancient giants demons from when the world was flipped long ago? Boy,
it's a lot of ideas.
That's a lot of ideas, yeah.
It's a lot of ideas. I think some of them are interesting. Like our ancient giants, I mean, particularly our ancient giants just from the world was flipped.
I mean, the fact that the giants got bigger and grew horns and fangs, that certainly lines up. I can see why you would ask that question.
Yes. And even actually, I did mention the numbers had those, right?
Right.
But Oars also had fangs similar to not as curved, but he also had protruding fangs from his lower jaw, did he not? Where's your favorite manga cover? Your Steven's absolute favorite manga volume cover is volume number 48. It's his favorite.
What is it? Oh my god.
Holy shit, he does. He totally does.
Oh, is that the
Steven loves this cover.
Is that the oars? Yes. The stretchy pink oars.
Salmon pink, as you always describe.
Salmon pink, yeah. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
he does
totally
have the
does.
big old. He's
got those as well, and it didn't look as Balinese, like they weren't curved backwards on themselves, but he absolutely has them. So ancient giants, yeah, like that's a great question. Like, so if the ancient giants were quote unquote turned, do they keep that DNA?
That's it would require,
or
for the
nandakke, ketoinshi,
the bloodline
lineage
elements.
factors.
Yes, yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Wait. I always screw this up. I always call it lineage factors. Is that the non-official?
Bloodline elements is that's what I used.
Okay, I've been calling it lineage, and I'm going to do this again in another 6 months. I swear to God, we'll have the same fucking conversation. But bloodline elements. Damn it. Okay. Yeah. Do you keep those bloodline elements? That's very possible. In which case, is there hope for Im? Can Im be flipped, or is Im the progenitor of it?
Right.
Oh, well, actually, this goes back to the Joy Boy. Like, because remember, I had that huge rant on it maybe 2 or 3 SGSs ago. Didn't I have that huge thing on the mural?
The mural, yeah.
And how it could be that he was turned. How Joy Boy was actually turned to his.
That's right. Yeah, you were, or like incorporated or something. Which, yeah, now that we've seen this, that would kind of match the general idea of what you're talking about.
Damn, man! If I hit that, fucking A. Yeah. Does that explain what else could be explained by that? What else have we seen with this kind of factor? I guess we have to see how it affects different races too. Would that be interesting?
Yeah. That could pop up.
But yeah, no, I do like it. It's a matter of whether or not you would keep those factors genetically or not. And that seems like something Oda would address. It's too interesting to not address. It's too specific, especially with the fangs. It's too specific at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. All right, we have one last over on Twitter. We have our friend OP at Champagne Bala, who always has a number of quick questions for us. Let's see how actually.
Wait, are these the lightning round ones? That are like just don't think about it.
But I'm looking at them, and these are like deep questions. So
okay.
I don't think they will go quickly. But let's see. It's up. Hey, it's up to you. All right. Which islands are you certain these Straw Hats visit? I mean, certain. I'm only certain of uh, Laugh Tale. That's the only thing I'm certain about.
Yeah, certain Laugh Tale. Uh, Up until like 3 weeks ago, I would have said Marijoa, which is not an island, but Marijoa.
Yeah.
But less certain now. Now that we have some actual villains
Hmm.
or antagonists, I should say. I would like to say, was it Hachinosu? Full of lead.
Yes. Yeah, the Pirate Island.
Yeah, I would like to say there, but don't know for sure.
True.
Like, I don't even know if at this point that island can come to them.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, he hasn't specified like because that's what he usually does, right? It's like, okay, we know what's going to be the next thing because the characters keep talking about it, and anything that's outside of that is sort of like, oh, that could be anywhere. Like, who knows where it is?
yeah.
Um, if it's on the way to somewhere or
Yeah, the only thing I'd have to say I'm certain about is Laugh Tale.
not. Yeah. All right, we have some questions about
And maybe
Hinokizu.
Laugh Tale will come to them.
Yeah,
Who
true.
knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know. We don't know the nature of the island. So about Hinokizu or the man with the burn scar. Um, maybe you remember this better than I do. Why did Oda make Law look sus and Shiryu guess the world government regarding Hinokizu? Um, I guess I would have to see that panel. I don't remember. I don't recall the reactions to to the discussion of the character. I don't know if I'm going to be any help here.
I think I remember the Shiryu
Comment. Yeah.
react comment. He said he was. What did he say? Like he's a person of the government or something like that, or was that what it was? I do remember the scene. I don't remember the exact
Mm,
quote.
yeah.
Um, I'm sorry. This is gonna, like I said, the old man podcast, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember all this stuff.
Right.
Again,
Yeah.
apologies. I don't study this stuff like I used to.
Mm,
I'm largely enjoying it from week to week at this point, especially because I don't write as much because I'm doing a lot more translation work. But
yeah.
um,
It's tough. It's tough when it's like it's also like it's little foresh as it's small details that get brought up, and then you're off to a completely different arc, and it's not a story point anymore, and I lose track of what is known and what is unknown, and what is what we're being primed to expect. So yeah, I don't recall the details there. Who?
if you do want to know why he made Law look suspicious at this point, like right,
Mm,
like that was part of it as well, right?
yeah,
Is
that was the question.
likely because Law is keyed into maybe who that individual is, or
Could be.
maybe he has that information now and he retains that information. The point is that Oda drew attention to it so that we know that Law has information of some sort. He either has new information from
Yeah.
hearing that term, or we know that he has information on it, and that will Oda being Oda, that should be paid off in the future. Maybe not in like an oh my god moment, but like Law knows to go somewhere because he heard that. The next
Mm-hmm.
time we see Law, he'll be heading in that direction because he knew that person is being sought after.
Right.
It's the purpose of it, which is I guess we could assume.
Yeah, it'll probably turn out that there was some hidden connection or something that we didn't know about regarding what was the incident that he was with the Rocky Port, right?
Yeah,
Something like that. That's his, that's his what is it, the Kessel Run. That's his magic thing that he can just tie things into. Um, who and where would Hinokizu the Burn Scar be if he's a new character? Rocks due to his flag. I mean that's kind of like if you just want to kind of like hold their silhouettes over each other, I do feel like that's kind of the most obvious answer, especially if you're kind of looking at all of this stuff as like, okay, we can't have too many arcs left. We can't have too many dangling threads that, require a certain amount of story, follow up. I think that's been my assumption. My going assumption is that he's probably rocks.
If it's not going to be Yorkie, if it's not going to be
Yeah.
Gavin, then yeah, it seems pointing very strongly at that character. But where would they be? Man,
Yeah.
Probably on a black ship somewhere that creates whirlpools or anything.
Yeah, that's where I would look first. Continuing the location things, which arc does Shamrock get beaten? That is a good question.
Does Shamrock get beaten?
Ooh.
Shamrock will lose ultimately. The Tenryubito will lose.
Mm-hmm.
And Shamrock will probably be bested. But ever since Shamrock got introduced, I do not like Shanks' chances for survival in the story.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a tragic Japanese tale to kill the good one and leave the good one, the bad one, with to deal with the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, I didn't think that way. Yeah, that's speaking of juicy drama, that's a pretty maximal way to get there. If we cut away from Elbaf, what will be the content? I'm guessing this means if he does another like chop, like like when we left Egghead to go see all the stuff with Garp and Kobe.
Yeah.
What would the content be? What would we see?
I think given this chapter, we'd have to see what happens. We'd have to see where Shirahoshi is, right?
Okay. Yeah. Because it
wouldn't be revealed, but we'd have to see that for some reason Shirahoshi is delayed, or she had to say. Obviously, she is saying this to Loki against her will, right?
That she's not able to.
Not able to talk. Blah blah blah. Like that. That's all bullshit. We know that. Like I think even Loki calls it too, right? Doesn't he? He's just like, what's this all of a sudden? Like, we have to see why she's made that decision.
Yeah. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Okay. Yeah, sure. That's never been said in Suspicious Circumstances.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good, that could be, that would be very interesting. I would enjoy that more than seeing more of like the Blackbeard Pirates, for example. Even though obviously, everybody wants to know what's going on with Garp. And
if he does do a cutaway, I think that would have to involve characters that aren't going to somehow be involved in this arc.
Yes.
And that is suddenly show up. Because if he does this, if he's going to pull the suddenly show up, and I'm pretty sure he will, then it's not going to be anybody who has a chance of showing up here.
Yes.
So you can cross anybody off that list. For me, that includes Big Mom Pirates, Uruj, probably Kobe. I don't know if they'd be sending out Marines here. No, especially not with Im acting as Im. I mean, pretty boldly doing. I think Im expects everything that happens here to stay contained here. So I don't think they're going to be sending Marines out there necessarily, unless it's just like the admirals. They just send admirals.
Yeah, this is the like top secret Navy SEAL elite mission
big time
that they're doing.
Yeah,
in Elbaf. Yeah. All right, and actually, this is kind of literally related to what you just said, and you did touch on it earlier too. Our final question from Champagne Balla. P.S. What do you think the structure for the rest of Elbaf is, and do we still get Arouge and Big Mom? What role can they play?
Arouge would be escape, because I was questioning why the hell would Oda invite the idea of there being the, what is it, the heaven, land of heaven?
Oh yeah, the celestial realm, or I forget what. Yeah, I had a word for it.
Okay.
The Tenkai.
Why the F would he involve that unless he intends to use it to some degree? And again, this is not going with what I want to see. It's going for dramatic. What makes a dramatic story?
Yes.
Moving up the tree would certainly be dramatic.
Yes.
Is it going to be an escape? Is it going to be that's just how they need to leave? Will their goal be up there? Is the truth of what occurred in Herald somehow being held up there? If they get up there and if they need to leave from there, then it makes sense that Uruj finally has his moment in the story there, being
yes.
so close to the
yes.
sky.
Yes.
And it also, I hate to keep coming back to this, and broken record here, but if they are being chased, then not only the giants, but the mom pirates chasing them up there would be an interesting moment with Uruj. However, to counterpoint myself, and I hate doing this, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for there to be resolution if they run all the way up there just to get away, and then Uruj and the mom pirates don't have any resolution, or they just get away that way.
Yeah.
Unless whatever they have, whatever beef they have, is meant to be settled in the final arc. That of course is possible, but I do like to keep myself in check for my craziest of ideas. So.
Well, you are talking my language. You know me. My favorite arc is Skypiea. So when you talk about we got to climb up the tree and go as high as possible to get away from to solve the problem, like that's music to my ears. So I like what you're putting down there.
All right,
that's cool.
Especially if the tree is burning, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is sad for the giants, but although the whole thing can't burn, right? Like it, because they need to save the history. So like it needs to be in danger, but they've got to make some kind of reason how it can be saved.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, I think in terms of like what is physically possible, obviously they could, it's just books. Like yes, they can burn. They could easily be destroyed, but it would seem really silly to have to belabor the point of like, oh, guess what? We brought them all back. We have the thing here. And then to just do the same thing again. I don't know if that's the most satisfying, like dramatic choice. So it does feel like we're being, the arc is being structured in a way that we should expect, maybe some other great sacrifice or something in order to preserve that.
Yes, the books must be. Actually, the books are the most safe thing in this arc at this point. They honestly are. They have more plot armor than Luffy at this point.
Yeah, in some form or fashion, like it, one way or another. And the books are just books. They're a MacGuffin, right? But it's the history, right?
It's the history.
That's the thing that is important, and specifically the history as a thing. As a like an item of potential, like it's a secret. It's something that we can find out, that we can learn, that is going to be important. And I think that's why it's being kept around in the story.
I'm sorry to bring this up at the end because it is the end, and we've been talking gabbing for a long time, but it is. I talk about how I don't read as deeply as I do, or as long as I do. I kind of enjoy my reading now. I don't take it as seriously as I used to, but the point Oda made about the books and the children is fucking amazing. We talk about Goda and you'll see, oh, he's referencing this. Nah, the Goda is when he's able to raise an issue like this, which is more important, your history or your future? That's literally what was at stake. Is your history and culture more important than your future? Gunshot, right?
Yeah.
It's almost an impossible choice,
right? Because what is one? Right, what is one without the other? They're both they're useless on their own. Yeah.
Yes. And the point of the arc was they don't. It's really on its face, but they don't just want to destroy us. They want to destroy our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. That is interesting. That
Yes.
is a deeply insidious motivation, and for them to realize that and bring that up is that's I know this arc might not be as dark as some of like the Water 7 material. Like, you know, One Piece went some really, really dark places in terms of loss and friendship, but that is a really heavy theme. Is they don't just want to, they want to use them. They want to use them for genetic warfare.
Right.
That's a whole issue in and of itself. But in doing so, they also want to destroy their very culture, which is what they have, which is what Im has done for much of the world. And it's not the first time. That's why we have a lost history. It's because they've destroyed culture, and that's a big thing. I'm guessing that's going to be his big theme for the end of the series. Is that what is our history? What destroyed our history, and how can we not repeat this mistake? Very, very good, dramatic, like you said, MacGuffin for the story and for the larger picture as well.
Yeah.
Sorry for the gushing, but it's
no,
really
that's good. Yeah, it's a very weighty topic. But that was the last of our questions. So I think we have covered our bases on this one. As I said, we do have a special interview. I think we're going to slot it in right here. But after you enjoy our interview with Antonio, we'll be right back to round out the show. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Greetings, true believers. Our One Piece podcast pals, listeners.
Nakama.
Sure, you could say it. I hope you're enjoying this week's SGS episode. Normally just starring our very special guest, translator of One Piece in Weekly Shonen Jump, Steve and Paul, and our good friend Greg. But
I think we're
Vero
changing it
and
up.
I are here. I being Steve, yeah. I think this,
And I being Vero.
and you being Vero, as in.
And if I'm Vero and you're Steve, who's flying the plane? Who's editing the pod?
Oh my God. So we're taking a little detour here from your normal SGS, and if it's Steve and Vero, this should be called the SVS.
You know what? I love that. I think we're
Me too.
trademarking it. I think it's signed, sealed, delivered.
We're yours. Welcome to SVS.
Steve, what are we
That's it.
doing at SVS today?
Well, we got a little special interview with Antonio Josh Medina. You might have seen him at the Netflix To Doom event as a walk-around Luffy, and a keen eye might recognize him from somewhere else.
Gee, somewhere else in Los Angeles. That could be anywhere.
Could be. Could be even like right outside my window.
Oh my God, he's right there.
Well,
Delaney. Got it. Delaney
well, those
gives
with a keen
giggles.
eye, I hope you have keen ears.
Mm-hmm.
So listen up.
Just start the interview already. That was my Oda impression. Did you like that?
Your what?
That was my Oda impression in the SGS.
Oh, just start the. Yeah, I like it. I think that should be our catchphrase. Is just start the SVS already after that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're here talking with Antonio Josh Medina. How you doing today?
I am doing great.
Good start.
Yeah.
But first, let's just get to know Antonio Josh a little bit. Tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do for a living, and what led to that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, super excited to be here. So thank you, everybody, for having me here. Well, here being a local in Los Angeles, obviously, a creative. I'm a performer, slash actor, slash filmmaker, a little bit of everything. I love storytelling. That's what brought me to the city. Um, I do have, a little bit of background in work in other areas, but to really focus on the matter here today, I'm a passionate creative, and I actually have been doing a couple independent projects for a while now. I would say, let's see, probably like 7 years now. Like about 7 years, I've been doing independent projects, and that involves, original stories. It involves fan films, and some tributes here and there. I enjoy a lot of fantasy genre. Enjoy obviously anime genre, as well as thriller. I'm a big thriller fan. So a lot of my roles are involved, in that area. And yeah, and then slowly found my way from storytelling into live theater, live performance. And yeah, I was able to experiment a little bit there. And after a couple of projects, I found myself in the shoes of the Straw Hat Pirate, Monkey D. Luffy, and I have to tell you, it's changed my life. It's been the most rewarding um, event of my life.
I love that. I
Yeah.
feel a sentiment amongst fans of the series already is that like Luffy sort of feels like he touches your life and kind of changes you for the better. So I can't imagine like playing him and getting to embody that probably really makes it even deeper, something special.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's silly to try to describe Luffy and what he means and what he stands for, right? Because that's why we're all here.
Mm-hmm.
And just for me, I guess personal experience is one thing is knowing it and seeing it, and then it's definitely been a total different experience being it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in the beginning when this opportunity came to me and it had been acknowledged and I was officially going to do it. I I remember I got so concerned and so worried and I'm like, I need to make sure I do this right. The
Mm-hmm.
fans, Oda, everybody deserves, to have a right interpretation. And I wanted to make sure I checked all the boxes. So that was a story of its own. But people close to me usually have better perspectives to, like close friends, like my roommate and family. And I guess because I was so focused on getting ready and getting prepared and becoming uh, Luffy that I might have overlooked, or just there's just certain things you're so focused. But I have somebody very close to me, William. He's my roommate, William Cook. Always shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big part of my career. He told me, yeah, you didn't even knew it. You didn't even like your body changed, your voice
Oh.
changed. The way you eat meat changed. So, it was quite a journey, practicing and becoming Luffy.
That's very special. I
Uh-huh.
really like hearing that. Um, so you had told us before that you weren't a big One Piece head before this opportunity. You said you dabbled in other anime. It's kind of always been close to you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like 90s kids really did grow up being like, okay, yeah, I'm into this now. Like I get it. But like, how has it been on your voyage, like watching the anime now? Like, what's left an impression on you?
All right, so I'm going to open the lid and I'm going to be left vulnerable for everybody to know. I just made it to Thriller Bark in the anime, all right?
Yeah.
I apologize to all the fans for not watching it sooner. I'm so sorry. But I promise you, I have generally fallen in love and I understand you now and I get it. And like you said, I'm a 90s kid for sure, and I grew up very, very big with Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. Those were always like my main two. And you know, I've always had like some hints here and there of One Piece, and unfortunately, I never got to sit down watching it. And I even had friends, you know, tell me you are really gonna like One Piece. You have to watch it, and I never, unfortunately, found myself at an earlier stage in my life. But I found it now. And it's funny because I know many of us and would like to see what's a great way of saying, hey, I am a Luffy in real life. And whether it's, whatever you decide in your personal life, what it should be. In my life, me personally, I would say it fit perfectly because I've always been that friend that has watched out. I kind of been like the father of my friends. Like I'm like
Okay.
like I take care of them. I support them whenever they're going through tough situations. I'm always there to stand them back up and push them to keep going. I've generally loved my friends, and when I saw and when I understood what Luffy saw in his crew, it's like that's me with my close friends.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. And that was a great way to start off the relationship and digging deep into becoming Luffy for sure.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. We have like a list of questions we normally ask as far as every time we have somebody new on, we ask them favorite characters, favorite parts. I know you're only in Thriller Bark, and listen, the pre-time skip, everything before Thriller Bark tends to be my favorite anyway. So you
Yeah.
apologize for it. And I said, no, we're working with the best of it. Do you have a favorite Straw Hat that isn't Luffy?
Wow.
It's okay if you say that Luffy is your
yes.
absolute
Okay,
favorite.
so outside of Luffy, stepping in Antonio Josh shoes, I really admire Nico Robin. I really do. I think Nico Robin, where I am and what I've seen, there's just so much that she represents that it's very like you can identify yourself with in real life as an adult,
Yeah.
And then second to that, I'd probably have to say Brooke because I just made it to Thriller Bark, and I'm a Halloween baby. My birthday's actually Halloween.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was able to kind of do some digging, and it looks like there's some inspiration in Thriller Bark from Halloween Town, I believe.
Oh, yeah,
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so there's like a little link there for me personally, and I'm like, oh, I've been
Yes.
celebrating my birthday, my whole life, in Halloween style. So when I saw this, this Thriller Bark world, I'm like, oh wow, this is very fun, and the yo-ho from Brooke always gets to me. So I love hearing that.
He's very cute. I feel like Thriller Bark is in between some really big arcs in the grand scheme of One Piece, so it kind of gets forgotten. But it is adorable, and it's like this Halloween Town romp. It gives me the same sensation the same sensation of playing Kingdom Hearts in Halloween Town when I was a little kid, and it's got that like goofy vibe going on. So yeah, I like that. Okay, do you have a favorite arc in where you're at so far?
I mean, where I'm at so far, if I were to like really compare my my emotions and my feelings, there's just so much power to Arlong Park when Luffy helps Nami. There's just it's just very special. So,
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of us at least got some glassy eyes, when he stops her from injuring herself. So I have to go with that for what it means, for what it means and what I would do, for a close one or a friend.
Yeah, it's Luffy. A lot of fans will say that Arlong, that is the hook. Like that is like if you're unsure whether or not you're going to enjoy the series. That is the proving ground. I'm curious if you felt the same, or was there something else that was like, no, this is it. I'm hooked already. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like, if you agree,
Yeah,
if
I
not,
mean,
or if
it
there was
was
something earlier.
on that same train of thought. Absolutely, yes, I agree with you. I think, and with many other fans, it's definitely a hook. Absolutely. Um, for me personally, I think when Arlong first introduced himself and beat up Luffy, I'm like, oh no, I want to see more. I want to see Luffy beat this guy. So that's where it hooked me personally.
Yeah,
For sure.
I
Yeah.
think it's very good. Okay,
hmm
and then the other one what were you gonna ask?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'll ask this one because I think
Yeah.
it's a nice segue. Like, speaking of Arlong, do you have a favorite villain?
A favorite villain so far, Lucci, probably Lucci.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
He's so like powerful and intimidating, I think,
yes,
in that
yeah.
arc. Yeah, especially contrasted with the other villain, Spandam, who is just like a sopping wet rag. I don't know. But so yeah, he really stands out.
but
Absolutely.
there's
Um,
there's still like a little bit of like goofiness, some camp there because of his pigeon.
Yeah.
It's like there can never be like a completely straight-laced One Piece villain. There has to be
mm,
something there.
So many
That's his deal.
thoughts. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Absolutely.
Okay, and then do you have a favorite character that a non-Straw Hat that has really touched you so far?
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say this, but Kobe is a great,
Mm-hmm.
example. There's just so many important things that happen from the beginning to how they, you know, ended up things, and you know what? I've always, me personally as a person, I've always liked to find happy mediums between
Mm-hmm.
people that are opposites. And I think that that's a great example right there. It's just, among him being part of the Marines, there was always a special sentiment there for kind of like solidarity, solidarity, I
Mhm.
would
Mm-hmm.
say. And yeah, that's why I like Kobe as far as a
Yeah.
non-straw hat.
I think if Universal were to continue to do fan nights possibly in the future, I would love to see them pull like some, because I know Universal Japan does the similar thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sometimes they'll have like Buggy or some of the Marines. I'd love to see them have Kobe running around because I think a lot of people really like him.
Hey,
Um,
that's actually a great thought. That's a great
I'm like,
idea.
let me just pen that in and drop
Yeah.
it in the suggestion box. Okay. Um, Sorry, I'm gonna make Delaney cut out the dead air. I'm like, let me segue into a different question. Steve, do you want to ask? Maybe you want to circle back to some Universal stuff, talk about the experience?
You know what? I'll add. Here's another question we'll
Okay, yeah,
sometimes
you
ask, and
go.
since you're also since you're experiencing One Piece through the anime, I'm curious if there's any of the opening songs that you've really taken a liking to.
Oh my gosh. This might be a vague one answer for you guys. I apologize about that,
It's
but
okay.
I would probably say I'm trying to remember because I spent a lot of time on Skypiea, and
Mm-hmm.
there was the intro for the time I was in Skypiea. I believe it was the one with the opening with the beach, right? Am I
Oh,
correct?
Bon Voyage.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Bon
Mm-hmm.
Voyage. There we go.
That one's very
Yeah, that was
cute.
super catchy. So far, where I am, it's been one of the most catchiest one to answer that
Mm-hmm.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Circling back to now, your time being Luffy. What were some of the most best experiences, some great memories you have from that time?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, like we've mentioned previously before, what some of the feelings I've already like described about being Luffy, just kind of like bringing that back. Um, the moment that I stepped out there for the first time as Luffy, it was like it literally felt like it overtook my whole body. It's like It's hard to explain, but it's, it's one of those things where you say you have to be there to understand. You have to feel it to understand. But the best way I can describe it is like literally feeling like, I don't know if maybe we can do a little imagination scenario here, like when you were a kid and you would try to like pull a root from the ground, whether it's like a piece of grass or flower, that feeling, that feeling, that's coming right out. So that's the best feeling. Like it's like the moment I stepped out, it just overtook me, and there was a sense of joy and a sense of happiness, and I guess it's just my mind telling me and convincing what Luffy really means. And it was like it's kind of like it's like an official like permission, I think, that my mind and my body decided on having. And because of the love of the fandom, it just reciprocated. It was kind of like a dancing, like a dancing game, or like a dancing movement. The energy was so positive the whole time with fandoms and with the fandom, and it was beautiful. It was just so, I was a dance. So, it's like the more I felt comfortable on exploring Luffy, it was the better it was received. I don't know if that has something to do with, I guess, my preparation, or just me allowing myself to truly be myself in Luffy's shoes, and it was magical. It was the best feeling of my life, the best experience, and the most liberating, I have to say. Like even as a performer, performing and being an actor for more than 7 years, it's like that experience made me more vulnerable in a good way, and it just kind of like opened up some layers, and it kind of helped me mold and be more confident. And then just, I mean, acting like Luffy, it's like hello,
It's the Luffy effect.
I love hearing you say that you felt like joyous and it felt liberating, because I feel like Luffy himself in the story, and then also to people, like, is this feeling of joy, is this like feeling of liberation, and like being able to be yourself. And it's so kind of magical to hear that you were like, oh, I understand the sensation. I understand like wanting to be this thing for people. And, you were getting so much joy out of it in yourself, and then it's reflected back on you and all these people who are coming to see you, who are like, oh my gosh, you're bringing my favorite character to life. I think that's really special.
Absolutely special.
Did you get to have any fun, like, I don't know how much I can ask, like little role play moments with like guests that you were like, this really stuck out?
That's a great question. I'd love to answer that question. So for me, it's like I said, the more I allowed myself to be Luffy, the better it was received. So then I started, experimenting with some of, like, I guess, physicality and things that he would do or think or say. And then I would kind of like twist that with my identity, and like I would start seeing things or reacting to things with as a reference always to Luffy. It just it was like the more I could do it, the better, because it became more like second nature, more natural. It's like improv. Like the more you do improv, the better you get at it. So but I would say when there was this one day that I did a kind of like a tribute to the Nomu Nomu kick. And I did this kick in the air, and I was able to get it photographed, and I have it on my platforms. It's like one of my favorite like pictures and moments. But I was training so much. I was like, I was literally doing the diet so I can lose weight and get as skinny as I could, because I've never been as skinny as Luffy. So I tried to follow diet. I was doing like supersets exercises, and so I can get the physicality and get fit, and so I can move better like him. And obviously it's very hard to replicate and to perform an anime into real life. It's very difficult. So it's I feel like I would use this moment to tell other creatives and people that that aspire to do this, is like, that's where the magic truly happens. It's nothing's wrong. Everything that comes from your mind, that is original, and it's not going to come from anywhere else. And I always tell my friends, an idea out there is better than no idea out there. So when I found this gap, I'm like, okay, so this is my interpretation. So how would I bring an anime, pick it from the show, and throw it in real life in front of people? So that's when I started like really diving deep and experimenting more, and then physicality and goofiness and faces and body movements and jumps and kicks and all that kind of stuff. And you know, people love also doing the Gum Gum Pistol with me. So, you
Yeah.
know, I had so much fun with kids and adults. There's a way to do it with kids and there's a way to do it with adults, you know. So
Yes. You got to meet their level. I love
yeah.
that. It's interesting to hear that you even like train physically to try to match him. I guess that makes sense in the way of when you're cast as a character, you need to look like them. But it's awesome to hear like how dedicated you were to that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I still have some effects from it.
So you also had mentioned that being able to slip into this role really easily then led to some other opportunities to be playing Luffy. Do you want to tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about
Well, you
that?
know, Luffy's just such a outstanding character, you know, when you put him in a playing field of different characters from different franchises, from different animes, even comparing it to real life, you know, movies and characters, everything. If you just put Luffy in that, Luffy always will stand out for some reason, right? Whether it's his look, whether it's his silliness, his straw hat, whatever. Luffy just has something about him that he just stands out. And I think that's probably why I think that, you know, becoming Luffy, being Luffy has kind of called the attention on other aspects around my life. And thanks to that, yeah, I attracted other opportunities. And within those opportunities, I had another blessing come to my life to now be able to you know, perform and show the live action version this time. And there's this very awesome event that happened recently. And this is the To Doom event, where it's a kind of like a celebration of culture and all the original shows and movies from Netflix. And Netflix has become such a what's the best word I can use here? They're just paving the way. They're paving the way for the future and for so many things. And they're having so much success because of it. The vision, you know, we see it because things, you know, how things are going nowadays. And in that world, they brought a live action interpretation of One Piece. And I have to say, I'm a huge fan of the whole cast of the whole show, and their vision has been very unique and very on point. And of course, you know, having the blessing of Oda himself and me, because I've obviously had to study and, you know, Luffy and be Luffy, I've watched everything I could. And I saw a interview, you know, with not an interview, it's just I saw a YouTube video where Iñaki Godoy, who portrays live action Luffy on Netflix, he shared to the world his experience going to Japan and meeting Oda.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was able to listen to the conversations that he was able to share publicly. And you know, Oda stated that he never thought he could bring a One Piece live action interpretation, because, you know, it's really hard to bring an anime to life. But he said
Yes.
that once he saw the capabilities and technological, you know, advancement with CGI, that's what convinced him. And he said, I think we can do this. I think we can do this. So, you know, he was obviously involved in the casting process, and he gave his blessing. And so, you know, listening to all that, I think that again, just going back to the event, you know, to Doom, you know, they were celebrating all their original shows, and in that event, they obviously brought the live action One Piece, and I was able to perform and give the fans a 1 day super live action Netflix interpretation from, you know, the immersive performance side. And it was very interesting because for me personally, I think I might be the only person in the world to like do both of these. right
Be
now.
able to do
That's
both
insane to think that.
opportunities.
Yes.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful thing because really listened to Oda when Oda said, you know, when we bring One Piece to Netflix, it's obviously more of a humanized version. So it's not as
Hmm.
animated. It's more human. Like, and that's perfectly what they did. So going to this animated Luffy to now doing the more humanized live
Hmm.
action Luffy at this Tudum event, it was very special. And that's something I really had,
Hmm.
like I was making sure I was
I
doing it,
was gonna wonder. I was wondering, were you trying to go for a different effect of like one is kind of showcasing anime
Yes.
and then like one is a
Oh yeah, no,
celebration of the
no,
live action?
absolutely.
So you
Absolutely.
had to kind of train yourself a little to maybe pull
Settle
back a
him,
little bit.
boy.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm a huge fan
Hmm.
of Iñaki, so I watched him so
Hmm.
much. He's a big inspiration. So like I watched him a lot and I wanted to make sure that I was that,
Right.
respect that
Hmm.
version to the best of, my capabilities and skills at that event.
I think that's
Now you're,
wonderful.
Mhm.
yeah, now you're well versed in Luffy. You speak Luffy in multiple languages now.
That's true.
Did you get to, did they have you kind of running around interacting with people, or was it
Yes, that
more,
was
what was,
absolutely out there.
hmm
That was like totally, this is the area because at the event you have the show going on and then and
hmm
like around it was at the Kia Forum. So there's like a little terrace around. So people who got up and they wanted to go to the terrace, whether it's to buy something, a drink, sit down, get some air, whatever. So there was all the characters were there from the different shows.
Oh.
And then
Hmm.
within that terrace, and that's where I was. And so I was just walking around. We did have the Marines as well, so it was really fun because I was always running away from the Marines or
That's
being
cute.
sneaky, but I was having fun with them because Luffy's not
Hmm.
afraid of the Marines. But it was fun. It was definitely out there. It was
Hmm.
interacting fully immersed with the fans and the crowd and just improvising and having fun as Luffy.
That's
Hmm.
that's awesome. I ugh, adorable. I'm jealous I couldn't be there to see it. Um, Steve, do you want to? I think you had some other questions you wanted to ask.
Let me double back real quick. That's a good
I feel like I'm
amount. Oh,
hugging,
yes.
so I got
No, no, no.
I had to
Okay.
pass
I
it
think,
back to you.
sorry. So, yeah, like obviously, we discussed earlier, and it's like you're creative and you're getting involved with some films and other things. I'm curious, what are like what some of your aspirations here? Like, what's a dream role for you? What do you want to be in?
I'm going to share something funny with you guys, and
Hmm.
it's actually going to become a fun fact, I think. I hope. I produced and starred in a independent feature film. It's called The Last Pirate. I play a pirate.
Okay. So you're already in your element. Okay, I love that.
So, that was my very first big project as an independent filmmaker. That's where I graduated storytelling. I literally, me and my team, we did a whole feature exactly the way that they would do here in Hollywood, but at a small budget with smaller team. But we ran through all the departments and did everything from like, choreography to like sound, like scoring or even music composing, everything. We did everything. So
Hmm.
it's funny and fun to know that I started my career with my big project as a pirate to
Hmm.
eventually stepping in the shoes of Luffy. So yeah, and that one we were able to get it streamed on Amazon Prime and Tubi. So it's The Last Pirate. Everybody's welcome to look it up and
Yeah.
and see what an old bad actor I used to be.
You've grown into a new pirate, the
Yes,
rubber pirate.
yes, absolutely. And
Uh,
then yeah, to keep answering your questions, so that's like probably what got my career really started. But also low key, I'm a big Joker fan, and I
mhm.
did a Joker fan film, and it was a tribute to Heath Ledger's Dark Knight, and that also was a part of my boost in my career and confidence, and that's where it convinced me, okay, I can do this. I can be an actor. That was
Yeah.
like a passionate project of mine. I replicated like his whole like mannerisms. I completely transformed. It's not Luffy. It's not the Luffy you're seeing. Like I used to have longer hair and everything, so I just completely
Hmm.
transformed, and I did that to the T, and then after that, I had the opportunity to then jump into the big Last Pirate project. And then after that, I've done a couple few, just to mention some of the bigger ones. I could do mention two. One of them is the tragedy of Senator Abe. The tragedy of Senator Abe Froman. We actually have that public on YouTube for everybody to watch. I play kind of like it's a thriller, mystery, kind of play like a little hired assassin kind of role there.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually right now in film festivals with a Western. Not a lot of people nowadays talk about Westerns.
Yeah.
So we actually there's a Western, me and William, I was AD, so I assistant directed on that one and produced as well. And my roommate William Cook, he's the director and writer. So that one's on film festivals right now, and we just got it. So I'm so happy we're doing this today. We just got the
Yeah.
notification today that we got selected for a Los Angeles Short International Film
That's
Festival.
awesome.
So that one,
Congratulations.
yeah. So Blood Money is a Western. It's coming up hopefully soon. We would love to put it into bigger
Mhm.
platforms. So that's why we're going through this whole process.
That's so cool.
So
I
yeah,
love
those are
that.
some, I'm always trying to get involved somehow, whether it's live theater now or live performance, which I fall in love with,
Mhm.
or storytelling, whether in front or behind the camera. I love working
Yeah.
on movies and storytelling.
Well, hoping to either see you on the
Mhm.
big screen or again, I guess in person, doing some acting. I think both of those are so magical. I like that you get to do both. Um, Steve, anything else that you want to talk about? Antonio, is there anything else you want to tell us about? Any moments that maybe we didn't ask that you're like really gunning to express?
I mean, if anything I want to say out to the fans that
Mhm.
are going to be listening is thank you so much. Um, I've had moments where I've already cried, so I don't think I should cry
Aw.
anymore. It's just the amount of love in today's world that I received from the fandom has reminded me of that, you know, there's there's more there's more goodness, there's more good people in the world than we think. And, it's times have become obviously very, very difficult nowadays with so much things happening. But through the love and through the energy that I received to the fans, thank you so much. Thank you for giving that love. Thank you for having hope. Thank you for supporting One Piece. Thank you for valuing, what artists like me can give you guys. It means to a passionate creative like me and to others, it means more than you think.
Mhm.
Once we as an artist connect to what we love and where we belong, we don't care about anything else. You know, all this like scarring of fame and riches and all that, like none of that matters. Once you connect and you click to where you belong, what makes you happy, where you want to spend the rest of your life, and when we are able to make other people feel emotions and whether we make him happy, sad, upset, cry, anything, and then people receive it like that and they let us know and they love us that way, that means everything to us. It means the world, and it pushes us to keep going and keep developing and doing and getting and going bigger and taking more risks. So that's something that I would love to say to
Yeah.
everybody and say to the world is just thank you so much for that. And I would happily do Luffy as much as I can, as much as opportunity I get within,
Mhm.
opportunities, because I feel that I've had a hook on Luffy
Yeah.
too, like I want to really like
Yeah.
explore more of Luffy. Absolutely.
I feel like it's just going to continue to explode, and I hope that you continue to have those opportunities and that I get to see you as Luffy sometime. I think
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
that's very beautiful.
Hmm.
And what you described just now is that's the emotional core of One Piece. And I know looking in,
Mhm.
you have a lot of story to get through, but I'm glad that what seems very overwhelming has been overwhelmingly positive for you so far. And I hope that just
Yes.
Mhm.
continues for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Do you have any socials that you would like to shout out for? Where can people find you? Where can they find the
Yeah,
rest of your work? Give us the YouTube channel where your movie's at. You said
absolutely.
also give us all that.
So if you want to know more of me, I'm sure I was able to come up with a name that once you put it on Google, I should be the first one to come up. And it's literally Antonio Josh. If you put Antonio, like Antonio Banderas, and then Josh is Joshua, just Josh, Josh. Antonio Josh. I should be at least one of the first three in your search. And all my social medias are the same. It's going to be at the word actor and my initials for Antonio Josh, which is AJ. So actor AJ and my last name, which is Medina. That's Medina. At actor AJ Medina. You'll find my Instagram, you'll find my TikTok, you'll find my professional public Facebook profile under that name as well. I'm not too big on. I have to give more love to my YouTube channel. You will find one, but I need to update it and put some more things on it. But you're welcome to support there. And let's see. I think I mentioned everything I currently use. Instagram, TikTok is mainly the two I'm trying to get big on. And yeah, and then if you want to send any email for any inquiries, the same tag at actor AJ Medina Gmail. And yeah, and then if you want to see more of me and more, if you want to see more Luffy things, or if you want to see anything of my career, you'll see it all on Instagram. It's all there like a timeline.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been really awesome. Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you. No.
Thank you.
It's been great, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. I don't think this will be the last time.
I hope not. I hope not. I want more for sure as well. Well, thank you guys for doing this. You guys rock and roll. You guys are rock stars already. You don't even know it. And you guys are all nakama.
Aw.
Well, it has been another wonderful and enlightening episode of the SGS. And as always, it would not be possible without you, Greg.
And you, Steven.
Yeah.
And me, Simba.
He's here too. He's still here. He's hanging out. So what, now I know we talk about how old we are. We don't use the social media as much as we used to, but on the off chance that we do have the stray thought that we jot down and send out into the world, where could people find them if they are so interested?
I guess you could find me on Twitter, Ochimusha108, and you can read my work in volumes 1 through 5 of The Adventure of Dai.
That's right.
Out now in stores.
Catch up.
Including the Toriyama Manga Theater. Also available in stores, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it's still in print. And Monster Hunter World art book.
Yeah, what was that called? Yeah.
That
was cool.
Big fucking book is what it's called. It's massive. You can work out with it. I did all the monsters, so all the monster talk in there is yours truly. So enjoy.
Very cool. Yeah, you can follow me on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social. Well, I guess, yeah, not much other business news. I guess I did kind of cover that I did translate 500 chapters of One Piece. Woo! And I would translate 500 more.
100 more. Just to be the man with the Hinokizu scar and the ice.
Oh man, I'm gonna have so many more scars than that if I have to do another 500 chapters of One Piece. But as for the podcast itself, you can check out our site onepiecepodcast.com. We are, of course, also on social media. We're still at One Piece Podcast on Twitter, though we don't do so much there anymore. Blue Sky is at onepiecepodcast.com, where we share the latest news, and Adil sometimes posts little One Piece anniversary tidbits. You can find us, of course, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also no longer call us at 347-497-MAJI. That's 347-497-6254. Call no time because it will not go anywhere. But I don't know. I think we are still saving. I know Zach has saved some voicemails, so maybe someday we will have a special voicemail extravaganza. But aside from that, the two of us will see you probably in a couple weeks. See what happens the next time there is a break in the manga. But otherwise, we will be back next week for your regularly scheduled podcast featuring chapter 1152. Thanks for sticking around with us today, folks. I know it's been a long one. Go drink some water, rehydrate, which is what I'm going to do in just a minute. But for now, my name is Steven.
My name is Greg.
And we'll catch you next time.
The SGSers will return.